3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and of course, as always, streaming on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. 4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZachGelb. We got a jam action show for you coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern time today. In studio, Colts running back Trey Sermon, who also played his college ball at Oklahoma and Ohio State. He did spend a year with Jalen Hurts in college at Oklahoma, and then also was on the Eagles team that got to the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 57. So we will chat it up with him in studio at the top of the hour. Ryan Hot Take Hickey, he knows he's going to join us in studio coming up today at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific. But I got to start off today's show with Travis Kelce. And I'm very confused because last year, I remember saying in the middle of the football season that I thought last season was the final season of Jason Kelce's career. And then I added on that I don't think that Travis Kelce is that far behind him when it comes to retirement. Now, for some of this season, I thought it could be the last hurrah for Travis Kelce. But as the year did go on, and when you got to the Super Bowl and you were at opening night, media night, where that's going to be a storyline, this is what Travis Kelce said about his future. This was at opening night, media night last week, where he was talking about for what the next 3 years has in store.
Where will I be in 3 years? Oh man, I don't know. Hopefully still playing football. I love doing this. I love coming into work every day, and I feel like I still got a lot of good football left in me, but we'll see what happens. I know I've been setting myself up for other opportunities in my life, and that's always been the goal, knowing that football only lasts for so long. But for the most part, I plan on being a Kansas City Chief and playing football.
So you hear that, and he gets asked a very specific question, what do you see yourself doing in 3 years? And it's still playing football, hopefully. Now, it wasn't as if the reporter said, hey, Travis, is this it for you? Is this going to be your final game? Because if you ask that direct of a question, I don't expect that transparent of an answer. In that spot, he could say, hey, I'm just focused on the game. We'll see what happens afterwards. And that's very vague. But since he went out of his way to say, hey, 3 years from now, I still hope I'm playing, that sounds a lot different than what we've heard from Travis Kelce in the past. So when I heard that in the moment, I thought to myself, okay, this isn't going to be Travis Kelce's final game on, at the time, what was going to be on Sunday. But I remember also saying, I wonder if that's his way to kind of nip all the speculation about retirement in the bud and not make it a storyline the rest of the week. Because what you just heard last week sounded very different on the latest episode of New Heights that came out today. And this is Travis Kelce on his future.
It's going to sting. I know everybody wants to know whether or not I'm playing next year. And right now I'm just kicking everything down the road. I'm kicking every can I can down the road, and I'm not making any crazy decisions. There's a lot that goes into this thing. I've been fortunate over the past 5-6 years. I've played more football than anybody. Yeah. And it's because the people that are in that building, the fact that we keep going to these AFC championships and these Super Bowls. And that means I'm playing an extra 3 games more than everybody else in the entire league. And that's a lot of wear and tear on your body. And it's a lot of time spent in the building. That process can be grueling. It can weigh on you. It can make you better, and it can drive you crazy at the same time. And right now, it's one of those things where it was kind of driving me crazy this year. It happens as you kind of tail off towards the back nine of your career, as the SVP would say, is as you see yourself or not feel yourself have the success that you once used to have. Man, it's a tough pill to swallow. And then on top of that, to not be there in the biggest moments. Knowing your team's counting on you, man. It's just a tough reality. I think I'm going to take some time to figure it out. And I think I owe it to my teammates that if I do come back, that it's going to be something that it's a wholehearted decision. I'm not half-assing it. And I'm fully here for them. And I think I could play. It's just whether or not I'm motivated or it's the best decision for me as a man, as a human, as a person to take on all that responsibility.
I usually don't like to tell people when they should retire. But once you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it seems like it's time to go. That's just the way that I feel with this situation. And I understand there's raw emotion here. And you could be very upset in the few days after losing a Super Bowl, even though Kansas City has won a ton of them. But that pain is still real. That pain is still authentic. And people right away want to know, when you get up there in age like Travis Kelce is, being 35 years old, and he'll be 36, during next football season, people start to say, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And his off-the-field life is already set. Like, he doesn't have to work, but he'll be a media star. He does that New Heights podcast right now. And, oh, yeah, by the way, he is in a long-term relationship now with one of the most famous people on this planet. So anything Travis Kelce does post-football, he doesn't need to do it. But guys still need to do something once they walk away from the game. It's going to work out more than fine. And there are other opportunities out there. And for Travis Kelce, you look at what he was able to do from 2016 to 2022. He had at least 1,000 yards receiving at the tight end position every year. And then in 2023, he started to drop off with only 984 receiving yards. That's him dropping off. You know, most tight ends can't even get that in 2 seasons, if we're being honest. He's able to do that still in 1 season towards the end of his career. The difference, though, from last year to this year is last year in the postseason, he popped off. You look at his postseason last year, he had 32 receptions, 355 yards, 3 touchdowns, and won a championship. 71 yards against the Dolphins, 75 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Bills, 116 yards in the AFC Championship up against the Ravens with a touchdown, and then in the Super Bowl up against the Niners, 9 catches, 93 yards in that one and won another championship. This year, he didn't pop off in the regular season. He even got worse than what he was from the year before. And I know he had more catches, but he had fewer yards, went from 984 yards last year to this year, 823, and only had 3 receiving touchdowns in the regular season. So that's not at his standard. But I remember saying, hey, just wait to see what he does in the postseason, because at Travis Kelce's career, you don't need him to be dynamite in the regular season. You need him to be dynamite come postseason time. And in the postseason, this is where it's concerning, because up against the Texans, he was awesome. 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. You thought this was vintage Travis Kelce, right? And this is what it's just going to be at his stage of his career. He'll be good. He'll be fine. He'll be more than competent in the regular season, but he won't be his great all-pro self when you look at the numbers on what he's used to. But in the postseason, like he did last year, he'll pop off. And that's what we thought we were getting after that Texans game to open up the AFC division round for him. But since that, against the Buffalo Bills, he had 2 catches for 19 yards. And up against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, where he looked old, slow. You know, there's one clip that's going viral. He's barely moving. And his blocking, I know he's not the greatest blocker in the world, but he's not as bad as what people think he is. His blocking was horrible in the Super Bowl. He had 4 catches for 39 yards. So think about that. From where you were from the Texans game to the last 2. And I think the last 2 is, Travis Kelce now getting in his head, saying, am I at that level anymore? Because sometimes guys retire too early. Other times, guys retire too late. And sometimes you just retire at the right time. And yes, in an ideal world, you want to win the Super Bowl and walk off the field, but not everybody could do that. So for Travis Kelce, I don't think anything would surprise me. And still, you know, you look back, he still had the 12th most catches in football this year. And that's him falling off. So he could be his biggest critic. He could be his toughest critic. But when you're used to a standard of greatness and you're not meeting that individually, I do think like what we saw the last 2 games, it kind of humbles you and makes you reevaluate it. So if Travis Kelce comes back and he says, hey, in 3 weeks, say I cooled down, I'm coming back, that wouldn't surprise me. But if this is the end of the road, it wouldn't shock me either, because there are those conflicting thoughts there. And you just heard it in the span of a week. From Monday to opening night, hey, I'm playing for, hopefully playing for at least 3 more years. I don't want to retire anytime soon. I love this, to now, a lot of wear and tear in the body. I played more games than anybody. If I return, I got to be able to give it my all and feel like I'm at 100%, and I got to be mentally in it. This is going to be a tough decision. And I don't think Travis Kelce's like taking a page out of Jerry Jones's playbook and goes, oh, let me just do all the drama and let me just kind of tease this. Like LeBron, for example. LeBron has teased retirement to try to avoid some criticism from previous postseasons, and everyone just rolls their eyes and knows it's kind of lame and pathetic when LeBron has done that the last few years. Right? Aaron Rodgers has kind of done it as well. And we've seen, right, those be like that happen for certain reasons. I don't think there's a certain reason here for Travis Kelce. I don't think he's trying to pull one over us. I just legitimately think he does not know. And that's fine if you don't know. But in terms of what we do, we got to give a yes or a no, right? We got to give a prediction. Stu, I know that we talked about this on Monday, but I think after hearing that Travis Kelce audio, it could change some opinions. So yes or no, and why? Do you think Travis Kelce is going to be back next season for one more go at it?
I think he will not be back after hearing that conversation this morning. I think he will.
And hold on, earlier in the week you thought he was coming back, right?
I did, but after hearing that sounded to me like somebody who was just, like they know it's time to go, but they're afraid to admit it almost. So I think this is it. I think he's going to retire.
Samter, you think Travis Kelce coming on back?
He's coming back.
Why?
He's an emotional guy, right? He sounded emotional before the game, after the game. He's emotional right now, and this is why you need to take time after a bad loss like this, where he had a bad game, and right now he feels like he's to blame for them losing and not getting the three-peat because he played so poorly the past couple games. But like you said, he was still an elite-level receiver in the NFL this year. He was still one of the best tight ends in the NFL this year. He might not be the best of the best anymore, but he's still more than adequate. And if you want to help this Chiefs team create and continue this dynasty, I think he'll be back for at least another year or two.
I don't think there's any reason for him to come back. Now, I'm not saying he won't, but I could see why you wanted to come back this year. You were chasing NFL history. You know, if he goes out there and wins another ring, does it really matter if you have 3 rings compared to 4? But really, when it comes down to rings, we only really hold the ring conversation in the NFL to quarterbacks and head coaches. So I don't know why, outside of just enjoyment and loving that team and loving that city and loving football, there's nothing else for him left to accomplish. Like if you just pull up his Wikipedia page, I know Wikipedia is not always the most reliable source. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a 4-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro. He's a 10-time Pro Bowler. He's on the All-Decades team in 2010, for the 2010s. What else is there to accomplish? There's nothing. So, yes, I think life could actually be easier for him if he does walk away now. He's given everything that he's could to this game. He's been a sensational player. He's easily a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a megastar on the field. He's a megastar off the field. And when you play like that, you know what a lot of players feel? And sometimes guys hold on way too long because they're delusional. They still think they're great and they're not. But there's nothing worse than seeing an old fighter, right, on the field where he's still good, but he's not that great. And then there's just a certain year where that old fighter thinks, okay, I'm still good, but I know I'm not as great. And then you're getting in your own head, and then you get knocked out. Like, this was the Chiefs' knockout punch. Now, they could get back to the Super Bowl, win another Super Bowl, right? I'm not saying that their dynasty is over, but I'm sure for Travis Kelce, he's feeling that where he knows he's still good. He knows he's not as great as what he once was. And there could be some apprehension here of, hey, if I go back next year, is my body going to get holed up? Am I going to go from being, I've already went from being great to good, and then going to be good to average. And some guys just can't deal with that humiliation, even though I don't think any of us would look at Travis Kelce differently if he's only able to put up like 600 yards next year and only gets 2 touchdowns, and then the Chiefs lose in the AFC Championship game. His legacy is already cemented. But I think it's wishy-washy here. And the more I look back at it, maybe what happened earlier last week was him just trying to push off the conversation. But after hearing that emotion, I think this is as true as 50-50 could be. I really do. I think there's 50% chance he comes back, 50% chance that he retires. But still, even though I think he should go, and I could go back and forth on this and vacillate through the entirety of the show, I am with Samter that I'm not in terms of the emotion part of it, but just, hey, I think that he could come back for one more season. And I think he will come back for one more season. And then maybe he goes on a little retirement tour. Maybe he does that as well. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. Do you think that's the last game that we saw of Travis Kelce? 855-212-4227. When we come on back, Dak Prescott finally became Jerry Jones's quarterback. I'll tell you what I mean by that when we return after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So Dak Prescott did talk to reporters yesterday. And while talking to reporters yesterday, Dak Prescott said that the Cowboys are close. Close to what, though? You know, maybe you could say close to making the playoffs. Because I don't think they're that far away from doing that as long as Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons are healthy. But this idea that the Cowboys are being very close to winning a Super Bowl is just comical to me. Let's listen up to Dak to hear how he meant it yesterday.
I mean, I feel like we compete with the Eagles and beat them for the most part when we played them. I don't want to say check the record when they're the guys holding the trophy right now. So credit to them. They've earned it and they deserved it by all means. But, yeah, very close, especially even watch the NFC game, the NFC Championship. And those two teams that we battle against each and every year a couple of times. And as I said, feel confident about we've gotten the better part each and every time. To see them, to see it in such a dominating fashion, credit to them. It's our turn and it's on us.
The biggest mistake you could do if you're in a division of a team that wins a championship is think just because you've played them close in divisional games means that you're on their level, even if you beat them. Because divisional games are always tough. Divisional games, you could always see an upset. Like, Stu, for example, one that sticks out to me. The Raiders last year. Remember, it was Christmas Day where the Raiders beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Imagine if when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, I was going to say Aiden O'Connell. Let's go Max Crosby. If Max Crosby came out and said, hey, you know, we beat the Chiefs, so therefore we're really close. We're very close to doing what the Kansas City Chiefs can accomplish. The Dallas Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since the 1995 season. They haven't been back to an NFC championship game since the 1995 season. So on what planet, outside of Dak just thinking because he's the leader of the team that he has to kind of say we're close to winning a championship and try to inspire confidence on his team, but outside of that, in what world does Dak Prescott actually seriously believe that that team is close to winning a championship? Like if Dak was sitting to the right of me and we kind of shot him up with truth serum, on what planet would he tell a truth and it would not be a lie when I said, are the Cowboys close to winning a Super Bowl? And he said yes. And the lie detecting services would say, yeah, that's a true statement what Dak Prescott said. The Cowboys are nowhere close to winning a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback. CeeDee Lamb is a top 5 wide receiver in football. Micah Parsons is a top 5 pass rusher in football. But on no planet are the Dallas Cowboys anywhere close to making a Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl, or even going to an NFC championship game. You just had the 3 past years prior to this one, 12 wins, 12 wins, 12 wins. The farthest that team did go was to the divisional round of the playoffs when, let's be real, Dak Prescott in that game up against the Niners was absolutely horrible when his defense did a spectacular and a magnificent job in that game. But that's really Dak Prescott becoming Jerry Jones's quarterback. Because you know what Jerry Jones did last night? He heard that clip. He called up Dak, and he probably said, hey, if you would have just said that last year, we wouldn't have made you wait until the opening game of the season to get the contract extension. Because that falls into the Cowboy way of just saying ludicrous things, saying ridiculous things, saying zany things that puts your team in the news when they have no business of being in the news. Like the Philadelphia Eagles just won a Super Bowl. I get it. You're at an event. You're going to get asked about it. But for him to say that they're actually close, you didn't even make the playoffs last year. And even when you make the playoffs, you either tap out in the wild card round or the divisional round. So to say that you're close to being on the Eagles level, that means you have to get to an NFC championship game, win the NFC championship game, then get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. You weren't even in the postseason last year, and when you do get into the postseason, there is usually an embarrassing finish. It was an embarrassing finish in the wild card round up against the Niners when, by the way, you were home. It was an embarrassing finish in the wild card round last year up against the Green Bay Packers while you were at home. And even when you beat the lowly Buccaneers, right, who were 8-9, that was your bye to the divisional round, and you got into the divisional round, your defense played their ass off, and then the offense couldn't do anything. And I get it, Tony Pollard got hurt in the game, but great quarterbacks need to elevate that team in that spot. So you're not close to doing anything. You're not close in the same level that the Eagles are. And don't tell me, oh, well, we play them well in the regular season, when we usually play them. That doesn't mean anything. On one Sunday, you could go find a way, or on a Thursday, Monday, whenever you play it, you could go find a way to take care of business up against the Philadelphia Eagles. You can. And I get it this year, right? It's not the Cowboy team that we thought it was going to be. But that Cowboys team, and I know it was with Cooper Rush, you lost 34-6. And then you played them again and you lost 41-7. So let's take it in a year where Dak Prescott was actually playing. Even so, last year, it was 28-23 on November 5th, where the Eagles beat you. And then later on in that season, all right, the Eagles lost 33-13. All right, so you got a victory. But later on that year, were you able to take advantage of it? No. You went home in the wild card round just like the Eagles. The year later, the Eagles go and win the Super Bowl, and you guys couldn't even make the postseason. But I'll ask this simple question right now. If you take the Chiefs out of it, and if you also take the Eagles out of it, because the Chiefs have consistently got there, right? They've been in 5 Super Bowls recently. They've won 3. They lost 2. And the Eagles, since Super Bowl 52, right? They got there to 52. They got there in 57. They got there in 59. They've won 2 Super Bowls, 52 and 59. So Philadelphia is now the standard of the NFC. The Chiefs are the standard of the AFC. Those are the 2 immovable forces. And you got a lot of teams that are circling, and they're trying to pounce. But who is the team outside of Kansas City and Philadelphia that's closest to winning a Super Bowl? And I actually think it's the Buffalo Bills. I do. I know that they didn't have their Indianapolis Colt moment in 2006 this year, but they remind me a lot like the Colts, where you have a statistically great quarterback. Now, he doesn't have Marvin Harrison. He doesn't have Reggie Wayne, to be clear. They get better pieces around him. But James Cook is a solid running back. You got a good offensive line led by Deion Dawkins. And defensively, they've been up and down, but there are stretches where that defense does get hot. And Sean McDermott is a good coach. He's not a great coach. But that Bills team, it's not as if when they go up against the Chiefs in the postseason, they fail to show up. No, they play these really close and really fun and really good games. So I think the Buffalo Bills, if you take Kansas City and Philadelphia out of it, of all the other teams in the NFL, so the other 30 teams in the NFL, they're closest to winning a Super Bowl. And I think they had the second best quarterback in the NFL. Mahomes is 1. And then you have Josh Allen 2. If you make 1 more or 2 more big moves, you go get Myles Garrett. That could close the gap. That could go be the difference that gets you to the top of the mountain. But even if you don't get Myles Garrett, right, you get someone who's a good defensive player in free agency, and then maybe you use those resources that you would have spent on Myles to get a difference maker at the wide receiver position. Could you go get T. Higgins? Could you go get Deebo Samuel? Could you go get in a trade maybe Cooper Kupp? So I think the Bills are right there, and I think they're the closest to winning a Super Bowl if I had to pick a team that's not named the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Stu, who do you end up going with here?
I will go with the Detroit Lions. I just think that looking at their path in the NFC, I think it's an easier path because you don't have the Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Ravens, all those teams. And 2, I know there's questions about the quarterback and losing the 2 coordinators, but man, that team's just really good. And if they're healthy, they weren't really healthy towards the end of the year. I just think they have enough skill players on both sides of the ball that they could beat the Eagles, and then they could be the ones that win the Super Bowl next year.
If you look at the way that we talk about the Lions right now, it's similar to how we talk about the Eagles at the end of last season. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the 10-1 collapse because the Lions they were they finished the year 15-2, I think it was, and then they lost in the opening round to the playoffs. But you look at the Eagles and the Lions, and you see where we were looking at the Eagles last year. On offense, they have a good offensive line, one of the best in the league. Lions, right now, one of the best offensive lines in the league as well. At the time, the Eagles didn't have Saquon Barkley, but the Lions right now have Jahmyr Gibbs. The quarterback, a lot of people said, hey, Jalen Hurts is very good, not great. He proved this year he could be great. Jared Goff right now, a lot of people say very good. Can he be great? You know, Amon-Ra St. Brown, phenomenal wide receiver. You pair him up with Sam Laporta at the tight end. You got a nice little 1-2 punch right there, just like the Eagles have a 1-2 punch. I know not tight ends, but it's A.J. Brown and it's Devontae Smith. And on defense, the Eagles defense, they had the talent, but this Eagles defense made the right draft picks in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. They got even better in terms of the talent that they brought in. They brought in a new defensive coordinator, and they went from a bottom defense in the league and a insufferable defense in the league to the top defense in the league. And maybe with all these injuries the Lions suffered, with those guys coming on back, maybe they could take that next step next year as well. So I think that's a good one there, Stu, with the Lions. And I think with those comparisons, I see a little bit, especially with the coach that has an effort mentality like Sirianni does and Dan Campbell, and a respected GM. I know Howie Roseman's best GM in the sport, but Brad Holmes is a respected GM as well. There are some similarities between both those teams. So I end up taking the Bills. Stu ends up taking the Detroit Lions. Santer, if it can't be Kansas City or the Eagles, who's the team that's close to winning a Super Bowl?
I'll go with the Ravens.
Really? Why do you go with the Baltimore Ravens?
I still think Lamar Jackson, outside of Patrick Mahomes, is the best quarterback in the NFL. He should have won his third MVP. Derrick Henry is not slowing down. The defense is good. They've had some injuries and everything like that, but it just feels like them and Buffalo are right neck and neck. So it feels like it could be either one of them, and if it's not going to be the Bills, I have faith in Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
Yeah, the only tough part for the Ravens for me, and don't get me wrong, I love Lamar Jackson, but they have to now slay two demons, right? The Bills only have to slay one demon, if you think about it. Because I think most of us view the three best teams in the AFC in this order: the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens. I look at the Ravens, they lost to the Bills in the postseason for a second time. So they can't beat Buffalo in the postseason. Even if you get through Buffalo, then will be enough to take down Kansas City as well. So I think it's a tougher road, actually, for the Baltimore Ravens when I take a glance and I look at it like that. I'm actually surprised that no one said the Niners. And I get it right now, the Niners stock or the Bengals, right? Two teams that missed the postseason. Niners have been to two Super Bowls where they've lost to the Chiefs twice, and the Bengals got to a Super Bowl, and then they ended up losing to the LA Rams. But I look at those rosters, especially the Niners. The Niners, if they're just healthy, they can get right back there next year. And then Cincinnati, I think a lot of us, it's okay, that defense has a lot of work to do. It's not really is T. Higgins going to be back, but it's that defense has a lot of work to do. I thought the Niners actually would have been one of the teams that were selected on this list, but hey, you ask a question, and you got to respect the answers that are given on out there. All righty, Kendrick Lamar. I ended up watching it, obviously, in the stadium. I didn't think it was good. I watched it late last night because I know that the halftime show is not made for people like me in the stadium. It's made for people that are home having their buffalo chicken dip, their nachos, their wings with blue cheese, all that stuff. I watched it last night, and I thought it was still horrible. So who should do the halftime show next year? I'll get to that on the other side. And also why the halftime show is actually a win for Drake, if you could just ignore one big allegation. But I thought it was a win for Drake. But Stu, let me ask you this, because I know I always like to have fun to hear what you're eating. What did you end up doing for the Super Bowl? What did you end up eating?
So we went to the apartment of my girlfriend's sister's boyfriend, who is
Eagle fan, right?
Big Eagles fan. We made a Philly cheesesteak pizza.
Oh.
And he made some sausage and peppers, and we had a bunch of chips and dips and all that kind of stuff.
You know, I've never been prouder than you. What kind of chips and dips now?
Just kind of like
guacamole?
Yeah, we had guac. We had some buffalo chicken dip. We had some salsa. I think we had some cheese as well. We also had a charcuterie board. So we had pretty much everything.
Now, I can't eat the guacamole.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
It's weird. When it comes to mushrooms and guacamole, if I have... the chat's going to love this. If I have any mushrooms, I'm down for the count. And I'm sick. For guacamole, I could have like a scoop, like the smallest scoop in the world of guacamole, but anything after that, down for the count, sick. But that's a pretty good... A cheesesteak pizza?
Yeah. We have
That's funky.
Yeah. We wanted to do something Philly themed because the whole playoffs, every time, we've watched every Eagles game there. So we didn't want to break up the juju of the...
No, I like that.
The Eagles winning.
No, like I would rather just have a cheesesteak, but
yeah, we did that.
Pizza sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it was really good. We did that for one of the games, so we just wanted to change it up a little. We also did Philly cheesesteak wontons, I believe, when they played the Commanders.
Oh, now we're talking.
Those were good, yeah.
Yeah, I've had some Philly cheesesteak egg rolls in the past, too. Delicious. Actually, when I was a pledge in my fraternity, like your big brother in the fraternity, when let's just say there was a night where you got really hazed, all right? If we're just being honest. Your big brother in the fraternity is supposed to get you something like to eat, and give you like a little break, a 20-minute break or something like that. So my big brother, he got me cheesesteak egg rolls. One problem, though. He didn't know that I couldn't digest mushrooms. Like, I don't go to the hospital, but there were mushrooms in the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. And as I was getting hazed, I was not feeling well, and I started throwing up. So it actually got me out of the whole thing because I was really sick. So I thank him for it in the moment. But also, it wasn't fun that I had a little bit of a stomach issue there in college. Anyway, we'll talk about the halftime show next. We should do the halftime show next year. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Trey Sermon going to join us in studio, Colts running back. Coming up in 20 minutes, he played college football with Jalen Hurts. Also spent a year with the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. So we'll get his thoughts on the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. And I don't know how we book this guest every week, but Ryan Hot Take Hickey, he's going to join us in studio at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Travis Kelce was happy-go-lucky during Super Bowl week and didn't think twice about his future, but the humbling loss Sunday left him with a different outlook this week. The future Hall of Famer said on the New Heights podcast he has some thinking to do.
I'm going to take some time to figure it out. And I think I owe it to my teammates that if I do come back, that it's going to be something that it's a wholehearted decision. I'm not half-assing it, and I'm fully here for them.
Kelce said he was kicking the can down the road right now. He had just 4 receptions Sunday for 39 yards, and that followed a season in which he had career lows in receiving yards and touchdowns. Ohio State has found its new defensive coordinator. The school is reportedly hiring former Lions head coach and longtime NFL assistant Matt Patricia, and it looks like Anthony Rendon will start the season in a familiar spot on the injured list. The Angels' third baseman has a hip injury, and the team said he will be out a very long time. The Lakers, with Luka Doncic now paired with LeBron James, go for their 7th straight tonight in Utah. I'm Rich Eckler.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
It's time to ask the pros. You, the listener, gets to ask us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I think accusing somebody of being a pedophile could be the worst thing that you could get accused of. So that's basically what Kendrick has accused Drake of being. So obviously that's already been done by Kendrick, and you've heard it in the song Not Like Us, and you knew that that was going to be the main course song for Kendrick at the Super Bowl. So I know it's tough to say if you could just get past what Kendrick is saying about Drake, because it's so tough to get past that. But when you basically spend the 12 to 15 minutes that you have of your moment at the Super Bowl halftime show, basically teasing that song, I kind of think it's a win for Drake, where Drake wasn't even performing at the Super Bowl, and basically Kendrick's entire act was just trying to diss on Drake. And I get it, right? He has Serena Williams there. He used to date Drake. And you also had the Game Over stuff, which I didn't see in the stadium. But when I watched it back on YouTube, it's not as if afterwards when I saw Game Over, I'm like, oh, Kendrick won. And for a while, I thought Kendrick was winning because everyone kind of united over that song, Not Like Us. And it wasn't a good look for Drake. But at the Super Bowl, I thought Kendrick, who was already winning and already had the upper hand, just kind of blew the opportunity. And the show wasn't good. And I like Kendrick's music too. It's not, oh, that's not my type of genre of music. No, I like Kendrick's music. But you never know how rap plays live. Like, I'll never forget growing up, when I was in high school, Wiz Khalifa was like a huge deal. And when I was a freshman at college, when you have one of those welcome concerts at college, they had Wiz Khalifa at the Leah Course Center at Temple University. And I was so jacked up to see him. And I left the concert and I go, that sucked. And I've seen some really good performances, rap concerts in person. You know, I've seen Jay-Z. I've seen Kanye West, which, by the way, F Kanye, by the way. I didn't know this because, once again, I'm at the game. So he did, what was it, a commercial from like the dentist chair or something that he was recording to go visit his website. And that anti-Semite, because that's what Kanye West is. And his family tried to tell him not to do this. He then had a swastika shirt on his website to get everyone to go and, try to buy those shirts on his website. How the NFL, I'm actually pissed at the NFL. I know you can say, well, how did they know that this was happening? And if I'm wrong on this process, whatever. But if you're taking money from Kanye West, you're a dope. Like, I understand the spot is so expensive, and I don't know who pays for it. If it's I'm not sure if some other company paid for it. I don't know. So if I'm wrong on that, I'm wrong on that. But I'm annoyed by this. As a Jewish man, I'm really annoyed by this. But how there's not more outrage about this, it's ridiculous. And Kanye West, he's an a-hole. All right? He's just a flat-out a-hole. And this is someone that really likes his music, right? I have Yeezys, right? I've seen his concerts. I've spent my own money to go watch him, but that's just a bad dude. He's a jerk. He's a loser. He's an anti-Semite, and he's once again an a-hole. You go take a Super Bowl ad to be an anti-Semite, get people to go to your website, and then you're selling a swastika t-shirt? That's what we're doing? I always say this. Anytime someone defends Adolf Hitler or associates themselves with Adolf Hitler, you're the scum of the earth. So how that happened was just absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. Stupid. And if you're justifying what Kanye West did, you're an anti-Semite and you're also an a-hole. All right? I had to get that out of my system. But now, going back to Kendrick. I didn't think the show was good. I did not. I did not think that. I knew because I didn't see that when I was at the game. And then I saw it afterwards. I'm like, oh, that can't. I'm like, oh, but if it's Kanye, it's definitely going to be real. And I knew eventually there was going to be a moment this week where I was going to sound off on that. I didn't think it was going to happen when I'm talking about, sometimes when you see rap live, it's not that great. But geez, that show was just not good. It just wasn't. And I get the halftime show is not made for the people in the stadium, but I watch it back on television. I didn't think it was good either. So for next year, Super Bowl's in San Francisco. Let me just ask this question. Who should do the halftime performance? I think Jay-Z's in charge of all that stuff. And I love Jay-Z. But I would say right now, if I had to pick one person, I was between two people. One group and then a performer. Like one solo artist. And I'm going to go with the solo artist. I go Post Malone. I got a chance, thanks to the folks at Bud Light, to see Post Malone on Thursday night, I think it was. No. It wasn't Thursday. Friday night. He was awesome. He was great. And I think he could do the Super Bowl right and give us a great halftime show. So I'll go Post Malone. How about you, Stu? What are you going with, Stewie?
Who do you think I'm going with?
Kanye? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I know who you're going to go with.
Yeah, I'm going
Taylor Swift.
I'm going with Taylor Swift.
Can they get her, though?
So a lot of the rumor has been that she wanted to finish up her concerts and the remake of all of her albums, her version of all her albums, and she's almost done with those. I think she has like 2 or 3 more.
Can I give a hot take, though?
Sure.
After she got booed,
I know. I was thinking the same thing. She might get booed off the stage, or they might boo the whole time, especially if it's a bunch of Philly fans next year.
Is she the Phillies fans booed her because, right?
Yeah.
It's Travis Kelce. That's who she's. It's ridiculous that she got booed. But I thought that was like a fun booing from the Philly fans. It's almost like if the Philly fans don't boo you, then that's a problem. So I kind of enjoyed. I thought the booing was a little weird, but I also thought it was funny.
It was funny.
I thought her reaction was great.
It was funny too, yeah.
Where she was like, wait, they're booed. Well, I never get booed.
She played into it a little.
Yeah.
I think she'd be good, and I just think like she's so much of a star where, okay, maybe the average football fan isn't a Taylor Swift fan. I get that, but I think she's such a big star that she should do one Super Bowl show at some point.
100%. And that would be the biggest star you could get right now. And there's no way she would give a bad performance. Like, you could hate Taylor Swift, and even you could respect that musical talent. David Immerman, by the way, who's the guitar player for Avril Lavigne, who's listening to us right now. And actually, we saw David in New Orleans. We invited him down the Radio Row to come watch a show. He came by, and we were hanging out for a little bit. Love David. He's great. He said, selfishly, I vote Avril Lavigne for halftime show. 100%. And let me tell you something, David. If David's in the halftime show with Avril Lavigne, I want to be one of those dopey fans that are running around on stage going nuts and fanboying out there. Avril Lavigne would be fun. Samter, who's yours?
See, I actually was going to kind of go with David and Avril with sort of my pick.
You know what we call that? That's a suck-up spot.
No.
Mike wants tickets to the concert.
I mean, listen, he was a nice guy. I've liked Avril Lavigne as a band, not just as a person, for a long time. But we kind of got like the throwback 90s hip-hop thing a couple years ago.
Which was great.
How about we get like Green Day, Metallica, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam, right? Get some like the big 90s bands, Weezer, Avril, No Doubt. Get like 4 or 5 of the best bands from the 90s. Get them all together. Hey, we had it the other day. We had Dre, we had Eminem, we had Snoop. So why can't we do it with bands? Right?
Yeah, but I think it's
Kendrick
tougher.
Lamar.
I think it's tougher when you do it with bands. Now, I will say this. The other group I was talking about, especially with it being on the West Coast, is Green Day. I think Green Day would be phenomenal. So, Stu, I like your idea of Taylor Swift. I just didn't ever think it was realistic, even for the NFL. So if you get Taylor Swift, you definitely do that. But if not Taylor Swift, then I would go Post Malone and then also Green Day for this upcoming Super Bowl halftime show. I know I only got 45 seconds. Anthony in Myrtle Beach, tell me why you like the Kendrick Lamar concert at the halftime show real quickly.
Dude, he killed Drake. I don't even know why you say Drake won. There was so many hidden messages. He destroyed Drake and his Sony record label during that 13 minutes and put on a questionable show. And as far as Avril Lavigne and Green Day, no.
So who would you want?
No. West Coast, go old school. Get Too Short. Get some of them West Coast, Oakland, San Francisco rappers out there.
Well, Anthony, we appreciate the phone call. That's my point, though. He basically spent his entire halftime show going after Drake, and I think for most people didn't really register. Like, obviously, like, you have this beef with Drake. We know that. It was all about the build-up to Not Like Us. I just didn't think it was a wonderful performance. I'd actually, and outside of being called a pedophile, I'd be flattered if I was Drake, that you spent your entire halftime show talking about me. All righty, we're coming on back. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Now joining us in studio from the Indianapolis Colts is running back Trey Sermon. And Trey, of course, played his college football at Oklahoma, also Ohio State, and he knows a thing or two about the man that just won the Super Bowl MVP in Jalen Hurts. Trey, it's Zach Gelb. Appreciate you coming on in. How you been?
I've been great, man. Definitely glad to be out here. It's been fun.
So let me start you off with why you're in New York City. You going to Fashion Week? Is that right?
I did. I went to a lot of events. Had a great time.
So like when you go to Fashion Week, right? Like someone like me, I don't have fashion senses to go to Fashion Week.
Yeah.
You know what are you wearing? Just wondering.
Whatever is your style. I know. I mean, this is my first Fashion Week in New York, so I definitely tried to spice it up, kind of switch up my style a bit. But I mean, whatever really is appealing to you.
Now I know that we have similar representation. So you're a Lepselter guy, and Max Lepselter, right? He loves his fashion. We know that.
Yeah.
So how did this all come about in terms of getting you here? Like, what was it that made you say, "Oh, this is something I want to go to"?
Yeah. Well, the past couple of years, I've been getting more and more into fashion. So, I mean, I just decided to just let those guys know that, you know, I want to go to New York Fashion Week and just kind of get that whole experience.
Was there anyone cool that you ran into? Anyone cool that you ran into while you were there?
I've seen, I think I was going to the Show show, and I seen Fabulous there. So
cool.
Like, that was pretty dope.
What kind of music you like, by the way? Just wondering.
R&B, hip-hop.
No,
little mixer.
Not to put you on blast here, but it's very polarizing. Were you in or out in the Kendrick performance at halftime?
Honestly, I really like the performance. I mean, just the whole dynamic of it. I feel like they did a good job. I enjoyed watching it.
Trey Sermon here with us in studio. So let's talk about the Colts, then we'll talk about your pal in Jalen Hurts. When you look back at this season with the Colts, I know it didn't go obviously the way that you wanted it to, but there's a lot of questions about the future of Anthony Richardson. You being in that locker room, you know Anthony a lot better than we do. What do you think Anthony Richardson can eventually become as an NFL quarterback?
Honestly, I think he can become, everything he wants to be. One of the best quarterbacks in the league. He definitely has the potential, and he's grown a lot this year. He has so much to build off of, and as long as he, keep doing what he's doing, being consistent, his future is very bright.
You being a young player in this league, right, that has to deal with injuries as well, just mentally, like, how do you put yourself when things aren't going your way, in a good spot? Because you go from big-time college football, Oklahoma, Ohio State, right, creme de la creme football, and so far in the NFL, right, you've had to bounce around from team to team. So when you have that little bit of adversity, how do you kind of put yourself in the best mental spot to see the rest of your career go the way that you would like it to go?
Really, it just comes down to your preparation and your consistency. No doubt that it's tough. It's not easy. The NFL's not easy, but I know as long as I continue to get better each and every day, just keep the right mindset, and I feel like everything will work out.
What have you been able to learn from someone like Jonathan Taylor? Because he's had his fair share of injuries, but that's one of the best running backs in the league. So you guys play in the same position. What can you learn being in the same building as him?
What I learned from him, really the past 2 years is really just the patience of the game. And, I feel like having really good patience in this style of offense is very beneficial, especially with a lot of the RPO games. So the offensive line, they're not getting off as quick as they usually would on a regular run play. But, just having patience, letting everything develop, and then just trust your eyes.
Now, you've been around Shane Steichen in Philadelphia. Now he's your head coach in Indianapolis. Sometimes when you go from offensive coordinator to head coach with how big of a jump up it is, it just doesn't work out. Now, I don't think I could say that right now that he's not going to be a successful head coach, but I can't guarantee it. So you knowing Shane, from a player perspective, what do you really like about Shane Steichen as a head coach?
What I like about him the most is he really does his best to try to relate to the players. He's a great guy, and again, he tries to relate to everybody, and he'll challenge you to be the best player you can be and the best person you can be. So, that just comes with discipline, consistency, stuff that you don't really. It's required for the football field, but as a person as well, it's good tangibles to have.
Just curious, I know Joe Flacco wasn't the full-time starter this year. He got some starts when Anthony was benched, and they went back to Anthony. But having that veteran presence who's kind of seen it all in the locker room, right, has won a Super Bowl MVP. What does Joe Flacco kind of do for a locker room, what you were able to take from him last year?
Man, he does a lot. He's a great team guy. He's seen a lot of balls. So, just kind of picking his brain, see how he sees the field. It's different, and it's definitely a good thing to have, especially for younger quarterbacks.
So who were some of your role models? Like growing up, was there a running back or two that you really enjoyed watching?
Yeah, definitely a couple. LaDainian Tomlinson, he was by far my favorite running back growing up, and Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley, too. Yeah. Todd, man, that's one of the best what-if careers possible, because Todd took the league by storm, and then unfortunately just the injuries caught up to him. But LT, he was two great options, right? Yeah. And LT had the Hall of Fame career, unbelievable. And Todd Gurley, it's crazy. So I saw Todd in Nebraska because his fullback is the strength coach now. When he was in college, is now the strength coach at Nebraska. And, Todd's my age. He's 30, and I see him walking around, and I go, I thought he was at least like 35 just because he already had his whole career already come and gone.
Yeah.
So getting back to Richardson, as Trey Sermon is here in studio, when that all happened with the tap out and then the team, they benched him. They eventually did go back to him. Did the belief in Anthony ever waver in that locker room, or once when he got back under center, it was like, okay, that's something we all had to move past, and now it's just full go with Anthony Richardson?
There was no waiver. Like, we all know the type of player he is, and, just the whole situation. I mean, the guy was scrambling around the field, and like, it was a long drive. So it's like, we get it, but at the same time, he's a great guy, a great leader. So we never wavered from him. And, once he got the nod to be the starter again, everybody still believed in him. And, of course, everybody pushed him because, that's what we're teammates. We have to push each other. So he accepted that, and, he gave it his all. He continued to show improvement and get better each and every day.
And there's going to be turbulent moments. But now, as, and we'll see what happens, with everybody's future. But if, they go into next season, I think Anthony Richardson's going to be their guy. You really feel as if there's a belief in that locker room that everything's in front of him and he could still be a great quarterback.
No doubt.
So, hey, Jalen Hurts was also at one point questioned a lot. Right? This is a guy that got benched at halftime in a national championship game. Stayed at Alabama, which I still don't know why he stayed at Alabama for another year, but then was needed in the SEC championship game that year because Tua got hurt, wins the SEC championship game, and then you guys link up when he's at Oklahoma. When Hurts comes in to Oklahoma, and there's so much said about him, and so many people have counted him out, what do you remember about meeting Jalen Hurts and seeing what he was able to do throughout that entire season?
Man, when he first got there, he's definitely more of like an old soul, more of a reserved guy, but he's still a phenomenal leader. And, once he got to Oklahoma, he didn't really hesitate to step into that role. He knew coming in, the quarterback, the tradition there. So, he took it by storm, and he did a phenomenal job. And, we got pretty close just in that short period of time. And, I was excited to go to the Eagles to play with them again. So he's a great guy, great leader.
Yeah, it's kind of wild because what you said about the leadership, he's a great leader, but it feels as if it takes some time to understand his leadership style because, I used to live in Philadelphia, so I sometimes still get down there to cover games. And there's sometimes after he wins where I go, hey, it's like Belichick-like. It sounds like he lost. It sounds like he's miserable. I go, it's okay to smile a little bit and enjoy the victories. So how long did it kind of take you to realize, okay, this guy is a really good leader, and you just got to kind of understand that, he's not going to be the loudest person always in the room?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it didn't really take me that long because we got pretty close during our time at Oklahoma. So I kind of got to see, I would say, the more goofy side of him too. So, it didn't really take me long to kind of see it, but I wouldn't say it's hard for him to open up just because, he's used to it. So
he could go to Fashion Week, by the way.
He definitely could.
That's got to be the best dressed quarterback in the NFL, especially the one hat that he wears. He wore it, I think it was after the Steelers game. That's the first time I realized it. That is I wish I could pull off that look.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't know for sure.
It's like the backwards hat, kangaroo hat. I have no clue what the heck it's called.
I don't know what it's called, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure my dad used to wear that.
Oh, yeah. Trey Sermon here with us. So what was it like? Because you played with them in Philly for a year. You also got a chance to spend college ball with them for that one season at Oklahoma. What was it like seeing your friend Jalen Hurts, now 2 times in a Super Bowl, outplay Patrick Mahomes, but this time he ended up getting the victory?
It was awesome. I'm happy for him. He deserved it. Year in and year out, there's always questions about him, but all he does is ignore the outside noise and continue to get better each and every day. And that's one thing that I really respect about him. And, it was just happy just to see him win a Super Bowl. It was a good feeling.
Yeah, he kept the main thing, and it ended up resulted in a championship, which we all know that's the main thing. Yeah. But now how should we view, in your opinion, Jalen Hurts as a quarterback? How do you view him?
I mean, I view him as, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, he, again, a great leader. Franchise player.
I got to ask you about Sirianni because, right, we give a lot of takes here. Sometimes they're right. More times they're wrong than right. I thought the Eagles should have fired Sirianni after last year when they blew that 10. They were 10-1 and then 1 win down the stretch. I just thought they needed a new voice in that locker room. And early on in the season, it looked like that was going to be right. But then something happened with that football team where they started to reach their potential. And Sirianni now is a Super Bowl winning coach and is one of the better coaches in football. Just being around Sirianni, who is such a player's coach, which I think you need to be now, but you can't be a doormat. I don't think he was a doormat the last 2.5 months. How did you like that 1 year when you were getting to play under Sirianni?
Honestly, I loved it. I mean, he's very intense, which Shane Steichen is a very intense coach as well. But Sirianni, he's very intense. I mean, he'll get on you if you need it, but he's a very detailed coach. And that's one thing that I noticed. The great teams it starts up top with how detailed they are, and it carry over, and I don't know. I enjoyed having him as a coach.
So the running back position was in kind of a rough spot heading into this year in terms of people just thought, running back by committees, you don't need a bell cow back anymore. Then Derrick Henry did his thing, and then Saquon Barkley really did his thing. I know Saquon, didn't have his best game of the season in the Super Bowl, but they had so much attention on him that it helped out the offense and opened things up in other places. But to see the season, knowing how tough it is to play the position that Saquon Barkley had, just kind of give me your perspective on that, being a running back in this league.
Man, being a running back it's tough because you not only you have a lot to do. I mean, you got to protect the quarterback. I mean, you got to be able to run efficient. You got to be able to read blocks, help sustain drives. That's the biggest thing. The big plays always come, but the main thing is staying on track, staying ahead of the chain. So it's definitely hard, and just to see those guys just have so much success, I mean, it's a good feeling just for the running backs in general. I mean, knowing that teams actually believe that running back isn't just plug and play. Like, you actually need a good running back more than one good running back too to help keep things rolling.
All righty. We'll delay. I'm delaying it for a reason. Let's get to Ohio State. I'm a Michigan fan. Now, they beat you 4 straight years in a row, but I'm not one of those people that are like, it doesn't mean anything. You win a national championship, And even I could say I thought it was a feel-good story for Ryan Day, seeing the way that I was on the field after the game, and seeing the way the players really embraced him was cool. Seeing what happened after losing to Michigan for the 4th straight year and then seeing them go on this dominant run in the postseason, winning the 4 games and, outside of the Texas game, not really having that much of close games, just, playing, a season there. How did you kind of process that one?
Man, I was so happy just to see him get it done. And I was so happy for Coach Day because, he losing to Michigan, I'm not even supposed to say the word Michigan, but just losing to them is tough, and it's just it's not the tradition there. So just having that happen, and him bouncing back and winning the national championship, I was just so happy for just the whole team and him especially. I still know a couple of those guys because they were freshmen when I was there. I think like 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, Jack Sawyer, man, that dude.
He
seems like he's been there for 15 years, if I'm being honest. And then, how about Jeremiah Smith?
Man, he's unbelievable.
So, I'm a huge fan of Marvin Harrison Jr. And this is going to sound disrespectful. It's not meant to be disrespectfully. I loved watching him in college, even though he played for Ohio State. I'm like, that was my favorite player coming out of college for this past draft. It's almost like you forget about him with what Smith was able to do.
Yeah.
After 1 year.
Man, he was amazing. I mean, just coming in, having so much success early on, it was a good thing to see. I mean, just his frame, speed, everything about him. And, he's only a freshman, so he has a couple more years just to continue to polish his game.
And I'm shocked by I'm shocked by that Hartline isn't a head coach yet. With the amount of receivers that they've pumped out in the NFL, that guy's got to be a head coach one of these days.
I definitely feel like it'll come. I mean, he's a great coach, and me just being there, seeing how detailed he is with his guys. I mean, it'll definitely come.
How was the experience, by the way, playing for Lincoln Riley? I know he's no longer at Oklahoma, now at USC. But how do you look back at that?
That was fun as well, man. I honestly can say I've been blessed. I mean, just with the coaches and just being around so much talent. Just being under Coach Riley for 3 years. Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, he's one of those offensive gurus. He's a genius. So, just seeing how detailed he was, and he was just another one of those guys that, like, he's a player's coach, but he'll definitely get on you if you need it. Like, if the offense wasn't doing too good in practice, he'll start the whole practice over.
I'm going to ask you a question. I think I know the answer to it. But what was your favorite game in college looking back at it? Because you had so many big games and so many stops.
Man, I want to say most people expect me to say Northwestern.
That's what you had like 400 yards or whatever it was.
But I'd honestly have to say Clemson, because going into that game, I was like, oh man, that was probably the only game I was ever nervous for, because I'm like, I just had a crazy game last week. If I come out here this week and do nothing, then I'm going to just be so upset with myself. So I'd probably have to say the Clemson game, because I definitely had more passing yards or receiving yards, my bad. But, yeah, I have to say that game.
And let's be, as great as your game was up against Northwestern, like, we all knew you're gonna beat Northwestern.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you didn't have that performance, I'd be a little bit concerned, if I'm being honest with you.
They had a good defense at the time, but – I mean, we definitely expected to win. So.
Yeah. I mean, if it was Michigan, Ohio State, whoever used to win the Big Ten, they would go, or whoever would win that game would go on to the Big Ten championship, and you knew that they were going to find a way to win that game. Well, anyway, I appreciate you coming on in today. Thanks so much, and enjoy the conversation.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
There he is. No problem. You got a Trey Sermon right there on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's do this. We'll take a timeout right now. When we come on back, I got to get into the antics of Dan Hurley last night. I'll tell you why I loved it, and we'll return after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
So Dan Hurley was fired up last night, walking off the court after finally taking care of business up against Creighton. And the two-time national championship winning coach, he is never afraid to speak his mind. And sometimes he will do things that you say, that's not how a coach should act. And now you'll have people condemn him and people will go, oh, he has to stop being a child. Oh, his antics are absolutely ridiculous. Just listen up. This is Dan Hurley walking off the court last night, and this is what he said to the Blue Jays fans of Creighton.
2 rings, Baldy.
So he said 2 rings. This after a win, by the way. You would think this would occur after a loss, right? If you're doing 2 rings, and then he said Baldy. So you have some bald guy sitting in the Creighton section as another bald guy in Dan Hurley is walking off, but he's like, I'm the more successful bald guy. Not only did I just win and finally take care of your team in this building, I got 2 rings. 2 rings. Basically, suck on that, Baldy. That's pretty much what Dan Hurley just said. I thought that was awesome. I saw that late last night, and I go, Dan Hurley, we know he's the face of college basketball. Like some people in college football will go, oh, Kirby Smart is the face of college football, but Kirby Smart doesn't have the personality. He's not polarizing. I don't think, you hate Kirby Smart. But there are people that love Dan Hurley, like the antics, the theatrics are like, that's awesome. And then there's some people that go, this guy annoys me. He acts like a baby. I can't stand his guts. I've ran into Dan Hurley 3 times in my life. And all 3 times, there's like some story with it. I ran into him at a UFC event. And then also, I ran into him, Stu, last year. Oh. This was Zach Gelb acting a little unprofessional, if I'm going to be honest. Now, I wasn't working, but you're kind of always, when you do this job, you're on the clock always. So I'm walking out of a Ranger playoff game last year, And it was one of them that they lost. And let's just say I was in a luxury box where there was a lot of free food and free booze. So it was safe to say Zach Gelb was a little liquored up. And I'm walking out of the stadium, and I usually don't get very emotional with sports in terms of my team lose, and I don't get angry. I'll rant and rave on the radio. That's different. This is the show. But I'm not someone that's getting into a fight because my team lost, or I'm throwing things if my team lost, or I'm punching a hole in the wall if my team lost. That's not me. But I love Dan Hurley. And I'm walking out of the Garden to get to the subway. And in my drunk state, I see Dan Hurley. He went to the game. And I was very annoyed with the Rangers' lethargic effort in the postseason. And I see Dan Hurley after having several cocktails. And I go, "Hey, Hurley! Your father shouldn't be coaching the Rangers. That's a tough basketball coach. Your father should be behind the bench." I'm just going off how much I love his father, yelling at him. They need your father's toughness. They need your toughness. And he's dying. And it was for an entire block, he's standing there, he's looking, pointing, laughing. And I was just popping off. And then the moment I see the subway, just walked right down, didn't even say goodbye to him. Didn't even introduce myself. Nothing. And then I saw Danny and Bobby, by the way. Temple played Rhode Island. They were on the same staff. I think Danny was the head coach and Bobby was his assistant. And for whatever reason, there weren't a lot of fans at the game. I don't know if it was a bad time of the game, if it was on school vacation. There was some reason it wasn't a normal crowd. And, when I was covering Temple, your seats would basically be on the court. So you're in an empty gym, and Fran Dunphy, who I love, is the nicest man in the world. But Fran Dunphy's not really an angry guy. You don't usually hear Fran screaming and yelling and going nuts and losing his mind. So you have Dunphy, who's kind of more quiet, and then you got Danny and Bobby Hurley, those two lunatics, just screaming and going nuts. And they're coaching the entire game. It's one of the most fascinating coaching performances. I don't even remember if they won or lost, but just seeing the way that those guys act. So you may dislike Dan Hurley. You may love him. Personally, I love him. I think he's great for the sport. Because college basketball nationally doesn't really resonate in the regular season. Dan Hurley is the guy that's carrying the sport right now. And we've had so many big-time coaches go away. Whether it was Coach K, whether it was Roy Williams, whether it was Jay Wright, right? All three just recently retired. Tom Izzo's a great personality coach. He hasn't won anything in a long time. Calipari won the one championship. I love Calipari. But him being now at Arkansas isn't the same when it's John Calipari at Big Bad Kentucky. So you have Dan Hurley at a respected program, a blue blood program in UConn, where Calhoun used to be the coach, and I used to love the antics of Calhoun. Now, Hurley's won 2 national championships, and also the other thing here, Stu, is he almost went to the Lakers, right? He flirted with the Lakers.
It's close.
I'm very happy he's not coaching with the Lakers because I don't think that style would work in the NBA, and he's always been like this, but now he's really feeling himself because UConn pays him what they pay him. He's got the championships. He stayed when the Lakers could have hired him, and now he knows he's the face of the sport, and now he's going out of his way to rub his success in everybody's face. And I watched last year when they lost to Creighton. He was walking off the court after a loss, and I remember he had McDermott on after this, but he was walking off after the game after the loss, Hurley, and he's yelling at the fans, "Say what you want, but don't lean over the railing." This guy's awesome. And he's great for the sport because you could either love watch him or you could hate watch him. And he's polarizing. Where if you want to go to college football, how many polarizing coaches do we have right now? Some of the best coaches aren't polarizing. Ryan Day, I know I didn't like him because I'm a fan of Michigan. But I don't think nationally Ryan Day was polarizing. Kirby Smart isn't polarizing. Steve Sarkisian isn't polarizing. Even James Franklin, I can't stand his guts. I think that he makes a lot of excuses. Is James Franklin really polarizing? There's a difference in being a good coach and then a good coach who's polarizing. That could be the face of the sport. And there's not a lot of polarizing coaches in college football. So you look at it. If I had to do the 3 most polarizing coaches in college football, I'm just going to ask this because I was going to put this guy on my list and now I'm going to take him out. Can we say that Belichick is polarizing before even coaching a game? In the NFL, Bill was polarizing. People hated Bill's guts. Does going to college, does it kind of feel as if it's a new start, Stu, for Bill Belichick? Because remember a few weeks ago we drafted the top 10 coaches in college football? And it didn't even register with me that Belichick is now a college coach. Because, we were stumbling to get to 10. We were like, and neither of us even picked Belichick in the top 10. Because we haven't seen him coach a game in college yet, but you would assume, it's always if you go from college to the NFL, that's the tougher one. Like NFL to college, I got to imagine that Bill, just in year 1, is bare minimum going to be able to go get 7 wins.
You would think so. It's funny because we did an exercise and I would never have even thought of putting him in there, but it makes sense to do it because it's Belichick.
Yeah, because it's Bill. So is Bill polarizing? There's a difference saying he's top 10 coach. Do you think he's polarizing in college football right now?
I think so.
You do?
I still think he is just because of, we're going to sit there in late August, early September and be locked into North Carolina games just because of him. And I think it's different than Deion, but it's also similar in the sense that, he's the show. At least for now, until he builds up a team that you can recognize. I
got to see how it translates. I really do. Because I think Belichick going to UNC, it may humanize him a little bit. Because he got shut out of the NFL. He restored his image in terms of, he's still grumpy, right? He's still going to be Mr. Mumbles when he gets up there in the press conference. If UNC loses the game, we're on to Duke. We'll take care of business up against Duke. We'll see what happens, and we'll learn a lot about our football team. And when you look at UNC, coaches, they lose games and players win them. That's what you're going to get out of Bill. Bill will go back to being coach, but this past year doing 9,000 media job and basically being a media whore, I think Belichick kind of improved the reputation in terms of everyone just looking at him as this great coach that's a grumpy curmudgeon. So I'll hold off on Belichick. I think the 3 most polarizing coaches right now in college football. Dan Hurley's the most polarizing coach. He's the face of the sport in college basketball. For college football, I don't think we have a face of the sport right now. So I'm going to say Coach Prime is polarizing. There's no doubt about that. I think 50% of the people love Coach Prime. 50% of the people can't stand his guts. I happen to like him. I happen to think he's done a really good job at Colorado. Now it's going to be what is life going to be like for him as a coach without Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. I think Dan Lanning is also polarizing because I love Dan Lanning, but he's kind of a football psycho. He reminds me a little bit of Hurley, where he may not be as loud and he may not rub his success in your face, but when he gets onto the field, like Hurley gets onto the court, it's just almost as if they go to a different planet and they're just trapped in. They're so focused, and it's almost if their brain and their mind just takes them to a different place. And then the last one, it's Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney actually may be the most polarizing coach in the sport because he's won at a high level. He got back to the college football playoff this past year, won the ACC. He keeps on winning the ACC. They haven't been a national championship contender in a while, but Dabo's the first guy when he gets even a small win, not even a big win, to throw his resume and throw his success back in your face. And he could be arrogant. He doesn't like to adapt, and he could rub people the wrong way. So I do believe that Dabo Swinney's actually the most polarizing coach right now in college football. So I think the 3 most polarizing coaches in college football, keyword polarizing, Dabo Swinney, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and then also Dan Lanning. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. We got 10 teams. When we come on back, we'll do a little pass-fail. We'll have the team be read out, and I'll tell you if I thought their season was a pass or was a failure. We'll get to that on the other side. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Brandon Graham needed time to ponder his future, and now Travis Kelce requires the same. Kelce, during Super Bowl week, said he had a lot left and really wasn't contemplating retirement, but then said on his New Heights podcast now that he wants to take some time. The grind of maintaining that success the Chiefs have had does take a toll.
I think I could play. It's just whether or not it's I'm motivated or it's the best decision for me as a man, as a human, as a person to take on all that responsibility.
Former Lions head coach Matt Patricia reportedly headed to Ohio State to become the Buckeyes' new defensive coordinator. Oft-injured Angels third baseman Anthony Rendon is injured again, out long-term after hip surgery. The Lakers have suddenly become an even greater attraction since the pairing of LeBron James and Luka Doncic. The immediate result was a success on Monday, with LA winning its 6th in a row in Doncic's debut. They'll take on the Jazz tonight. The Thunder currently have the league's best record and have won 6 in a row as well. They will host the Heat, while the Cavaliers, the best in the East, also with 43 wins on the season, take on the Raptors in Toronto. I'm Rich Eck.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Hot take Hickey. Just saw his hair. It's as high as ever. He's going to join us in studio coming up 17 minutes from now. Tom Pelissero, by the way, had a very good head of hair at the Super Bowl. You know, Pelissero, Hickey, Evan Washburn, and there's one other guy that we were talking about. I forget who it was. Oh, Adam Shine. Thank you, Samter. Was that on the air, or did you just get into my ear? Just wondering. Oh, you're in my ear. You're still in my ear. I always say this when it comes to radio. If the producer's in your ear, like, there should be a ding that goes off. So I at least know you're not on the air. I have no clue. Like, when you guys get in my ear during the show, you know, if I hear, Adam Shine, you mean Adam Shine, you mean Adam Shine, you mean Adam Shine. I have no clue if you're saying that on the air if you don't. But, yeah, Shine. You know, I'll have Hickey rank those when he comes in studio next. We've had him ranked before. I think Shine, Washburn, and himself. I'll throw in there Tom Pelissero as well from the NFL Network, who that hair was just perfectly combed at the Super Bowl. You know, we go from interviewing Paige Spiranek on this show to talking about, you know, look at the hair on Tom Pelissero. You couldn't have two different conversations. Anywho, though, Hickey joins us 15 minutes from now. Give me a little music here. You're going to give me also the team names as well. And I will tell you if they pass or they fail on the NFL season. By the way, I don't know about you, Stu. I always loved the pass-fail class. Because then it didn't matter if you got an A or B. You just needed to make sure that you got the C, you got the passing grade, and you didn't really have to go all out. Whenever it was a pass-fail course, that was my kind of school.
Yep, 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, those are always the classes that I actually passed. Alrighty, what do we got?
The Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, failure. You know, I know they could use the excuses of the injuries and all that, but the Cincinnati Bengals didn't make the postseason. They wasted another year of Joe Burrow's prime. And Joe Burrow, if they would have just made the postseason, he would have been the MVP of the league with how he led the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. But that defense is absolutely horrible. It's Super Bowl or bust for the Bengals. They didn't make the postseason. That's an easy fail.
The Buffalo Bills.
I'm going to give them a pass. I know that they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, but heading into this season, people thought that the Bills could actually not even win the AFC East. They easily won the AFC East. They beat the Baltimore Ravens, and they lost another heartbreaker to the Kansas City Chiefs. But I thought that they exceeded expectations this year. It just was an unfortunate ending, but I'm giving them a pass.
The Baltimore Ravens.
I think people are going to be surprised by this one because they're similar to the Bills. But I actually think the Ravens season is a failure. Yeah, I get it. They won their division. Lamar Jackson played MVP quality ball. Derrick Henry was a wonderful acquisition for that team. But if they would have just lost to the Chiefs and it was the same fate as what the Buffalo Bills suffered, okay, maybe I give them a pass. But now they have to show that they could beat Buffalo in the postseason and then also Kansas City. And Mark Andrews dropping that ball. You got off to a slow start. To me, yes, you made the postseason. You won one playoff game, whip-de-damn-do. You got into the second round, and you lost to the Bills, and now you got to slay 2 Dragons, and now you lost to the Bills twice in the postseason. So I would go more fail than pass on that one.
Los Angeles Rams.
See, this one's tricky. I'm going to go pass here because I thought they were a late, trendy Super Bowl pick, but a lot of people were out on them because Aaron Donald did retire. They found out that they drafted 2 studs just in this past draft class in Jared Verse and then also Braden Fisk. Maybe only the Eagles had a better draft because you got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and those 2 guys ended up winning a Super Bowl, and Cooper DeJean ended up having a pick 6 in the Super Bowl. I know, by the way, the Eagles beat the Rams in the postseason. But Matthew Stafford had a solid year. Kyron Williams continues to be a stud. And Puka Nacua, when healthy, is a really good wide receiver. They made the postseason. They also won a playoff round, and they had to bow out in round number 2, to the Eagles on divisional weekend. But I end up giving a pass to the LA Rams.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh. See, that's tough. I'm going to say it's a fail. And I know people are going to say, but Zach, they've really only lost 2 games this year because you could throw away the game to the Broncos at the end of the season. They barely played anyone. Yeah, they lost to the Bills in the regular season. They avenged that loss to the Bills in the AFC Championship game. Fair or not, though, every year out for the rest of Mahomes' career, until I say otherwise, it's Super Bowl or bust. And they didn't win the Super Bowl. So that could be a ridiculous standard. And it's kind of crazy to say a team gets the Super Bowl fail, but that's the standard for the Kansas City Chiefs. And if they would have lost on like a field goal, a walk-off field goal, it's different. They got blown out of the game. So I know a lot of teams would want to have their success this year, but there's not a lot of teams. Like, a lot of teams don't even come close to doing what the Chiefs could do. So it's tough to compare yourself to Kansas City, but I go failure because they lost the Super Bowl.
The Minnesota Vikings.
It's a pass. You know what the Vikings do? The Vikings, they took 75% of the test. And 75% of the test was immaculate. And for some reason, they either ran out of time or they just didn't look at the bottom lower third on the back of the paper. And the Minnesota Vikings, they had a crappy ending, and Sam Darnold didn't live up to the hype that he created, which is unbelievable. We can even say that Sam Darnold just kind of showed up at the end of the season and not the way that you expect that to be said. But he was awesome for about the final 2 weeks of the season, and then it was just a disaster. But still, the Vikings this year, they weren't even thought to be a playoff team. They make the postseason. I know they lose wild card weekend to the Rams on that Monday Night Football game, but I still give them more of a pass than a fail. They're lucky they aced the first three quarters of the test, because the final quarter of the test was a disaster. I once said that in middle school, by the way. I breezed through the test, the first half, completely breezed through it. And the teacher goes, "Oh, that was quick." Aced the first half. Don't even think I got one question wrong. I didn't flip over the paper. And the paper got sent back to me still. And it was just a giant question mark on the other side, because I saw the front and I'm like, I failed the test? I go, how did I fail the test? Like, I thought it was unbelievable, right? I was like the Kansas City Chiefs. I walked in thinking I'm going to ace the test, and then the test goes on and it was a disaster. Well, I didn't do the second half of the test, the backside. So that's kind of what I go with the Minnesota Vikings, but I think they did a little bit more than just the first half of the test. All right, next team.
The Detroit Lions.
See, this is the toughest one. 15-2. It's tough to say. Like, if I would have told Detroit before the season started you get 15 wins, tough to say it's a failure. But you didn't even win a playoff game. And last year you set the stage where you got to an NFC Championship game, you overachieved, but you blew that game. You blew that big lead. And now this was the year to get to the Super Bowl. You had the number 1 seed. The road to the Super Bowl goes to Detroit. And I love Jaden Daniels, but you let the Commanders just beat you up. So because of how that season ended, I walk away saying the Lions season was actually a failure.
The Green Bay Packers.
Easy fail. We thought they were going to take the next step. Now, they still made the postseason. They lost in the first round to the Eagles, so be it. But that offense was supposed to take that next step. They didn't do so. They need a number 1 wide receiver. And I think they're in a good spot, but now they got to get a number 1 wide receiver, but I go failure.
the Houston Texans.
Same thing. Now, I know that they won a playoff game and they got back to the same spot and they won their division, but the division stunk. I go failure here because we thought that was going to be a team that was going to take the next step. C.J. Stroud, still really good quarterback, but he regressed this year. Stephon Diggs, unfortunately, got hurt. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. were really awesome, but they didn't take that next step. So therefore, I'm going to say it's a failure of a season.
Los Angeles Chargers.
Terrible playoff performance where Justin Herbert threw, 4 interceptions up against the Texans. But before the season started, not much was expected out of Los Angeles Chargers. They need to go get some more weapons. Ladd McConkey, let me tell you what, man, that Ladd McConkey, he's really damn good. But you need more around Justin Herbert, and you got to see if that defense can stay healthy. I thought this was a good way to lay the foundation for Jim Harbaugh. Now you got to go get some more talent on that team or get guys that are going to be talented that also stay healthy, because that's been a problem for the Chargers, is getting guys to stay healthy. But I end up giving the Los Angeles Chargers a passing grade because in year one of the Harbaugh era, they ended up making the postseason. So there's a little pass-fail when we look back at 10 teams for this past NFL season. You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and as always, streaming on YouTube. We're going to take a break here. When we come on back, we are going to have Ryan Hot Take Hickey join us in studio. Earlier in this hour, we had Colts running back Trey Sermon join us in studio as well. So for some reason, we're on a big Indianapolis Colts themed day here on the show. The Colts can't make the postseason. And I know the postseason's now over, so we're going to try to bring the Colts postseason to you, bringing in one of their running backs and then also their star super fan in Ryan Hot Take Hickey. And we will get him to rank the hair of himself, Adam Shine, in addition to Evan Washburn, and then also Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network. Also, let's pull the Warren Sapp sound. I forgot to say that to you earlier, Samter, because Hickey is like also Mr. Penn State. And that is Warren Sapp with us last week saying that Micah Parsons is not a good pass rusher, which is still just a stunning situation to me. And I'm blown away. I'm still getting people that are reaching out to me today to talk about that clip and say like the horror stories that they've had dealing with Warren Sapp. So we'll take one more break here. We still got a whole hour to go. So 60 minutes of radio coming up for you. And we kick things off with Ryan Hot Take Hickey next right here on the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, welcome back in. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Ryan Hot Take Hickey is in studio with us, and he joins us right now. And I know you're very confused and rattled, because usually you look over that monitor and see what Samter puts up underneath you, but for some reason that monitor isn't working today. So would you like to hear what is actually on the screen for you today?
Sure, he said it was a good one, so no pressure, Samter, but let's hear it.
Yeah, I don't even think it's up on the screen yet, because I'm looking at the feed right now, and it's not even it's not even up on the screen. It is up on the screen now? Okay. Don't be yelling at Stu. What, now because you're a host, you just yell at the behind-the-scenes people? That's not nice. Knows there's no good pass rushers from Penn State.
Oh, boy.
How about that exchange, by the way? Because you were with me for the Aaron Donald thing. And were you with me with Debo? I think you were.
I was with you. The one I remember that was in the room for that I saw firsthand was Drew Brees. When we had Radio Row, Drew Brees was there for 2 minutes. Not his fault, his rep's fault.
Yes.
And they said, last question. And we're like, We just said hi.
He just sat
He's
down.
He's got to go.
And then some publicists ripped him off the air. You're right. That's a good memory.
That was the first time I was at Radio Row. The first time you kind of really see how the sausage is made, and somehow, sometimes they're late, but it's not your fault, but they're late and hey, we got 2 minutes. Well, you're late. It's your fault. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot that you kind of learn.
I think it was actually 90 seconds. And Drew he apologized for it.
And he was it wasn't his fault.
He came back up to see that shouldn't have happened. I really apologize.
But it's just these PR people that set things up. Sometimes, again, if the schedule goes awry or whatever, or they make promises they can't keep, and it's just bizarre. But
do we have the Warren Sapp audio? Let's just play it in case I don't know how you missed it, but in case if you did miss it last week, here you go.
How does Travis Hunter get used in the NFL? I was talking to two Giants. I was talking to two Giants the other day. They're debating it. How would you use him if you're coaching him in the NFL?
He's my starting corner. I just took away 1/3 of the field, and I have a package for him on offense because the NFL is so wide open. Nobody hits anybody anymore. They're just running everywhere anywhere. So put him over there on offense, get him 6 to 12 plays a game, give him the ball 5-6 times a game. It'll really aid your football team.
Is he the best player in this draft?
Yeah.
Where does Shador fall in that?
Right behind him.
Yeah.
And then Cam right behind him.
Abdul Carter, too, Penn State. Edge rusher. He's pretty good.
All right. What was the last edge rusher from Penn State?
Micah Parsons.
And what rushing he doing?
Hey,
what pass rush he got? What?
Yeah.
You better look that up.
Yeah.
15 what?
He gets 15 sacks a year.
You believe this?
Micah Parsons?
I'm gonna leave you on that one.
We appreciate it. Thanks so much for leaving me hanging. You're leaving me hanging. Micah Parsons he's a good pass rusher.
So that was Warren Sapp. Wait, look at this. Look at Zach Gelb, by the way. Me. I'm defending Penn State. I'm defending Micah Parsons. I actually had someone high up in the I could say it. Pat Kraft. Penn State AD. I know him since his days at Temple. We talked about this interview. So now I am in the good graces. This is how crazy that interview was. I'm in the good graces of the Penn State community when 99.9% of the things I say about the Penn State community are not nice things. But I want to get your thoughts on it. I have not seen you for over a week now because I was in New Orleans last week. I don't even think I saw you yesterday for about 30 seconds, but I was so tired that I was just I need to get out of here and go home, go to sleep. So we didn't get a chance to talk about this. Your thoughts on Warren Sapp basically saying Abdul Carter, who I think the world of, and I want the Patriots to get us some scrub.
I mean, idiotic. That's the best way to say it. Warren, he clearly does not watch college football outside of Colorado, which is fine. I mean, I don't expect you. And honestly,
does he even watch Colorado?
That's a fair question as well. I don't know. But that's just a bad opinion from someone who has an agenda that he wants to push and doesn't want to listen to anything else. What's sad, honestly, I liked his answer about Travis Hunter. I thought that was insightful. I thought it was interesting. Yeah. I thought it was actually, not that people haven't said it before, but I think it's a fair way to look at how to use Travis Hunter. I'd probably try to use him more as DB. I think he's a better defensive back than wide receiver. It's sad that that's a good answer. It's overshadowed because 30 seconds later, he says one of the stupidest things you could possibly have. Clearly has no idea what he's talking about. And then when he gets a retort to what he says, instead of owning up to it or saying, maybe I got to think about it, or actually just knowing facts, runs away and it looks scared. Looks scared.
Yeah.
Compared to you, it's pathetic.
I think when I gave him some facts, and I'm not a big fat guy, he just couldn't handle the truth.
That's pathetic.
He took his ball and ran away.
Exactly right.
And then blamed it on CTE later in the week.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he tweeted me when I was landing. He tweeted me, he goes, wait, I walked off? He goes, must have been my CTE kicking on in. That's what he tweeted to me from Warren Sapp.
Talk about making a bad situation worse. That's embarrassing. He really tweeted that?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
You don't believe it? Come on, it's Warren Sapp. Are you surprised?
I guess I'm surprised that he's trying to I don't know about justifying walking off, but he's a tough guy. Just own it. You walked off. You didn't like what you hear. Well, for whatever reason, you think you were right on something you were completely off on. You tried to make a point. You got owned on it.
Just from his account.
Move on.
With 963,000 followers. He responded back to the video. We wasn't done? ? My bad. CTE acting up. The great Warren Sapp.
Again, that's pathetic.
Where do you think Abdul Carter actually goes, though? Not where you think he should go. Where you think he will go. Tennessee's 1, Cleveland's 2, Giants are 3, Patriots are 4. I think the latest he will go is 4.
I probably think the Patriots. I think the Titans take Travis Hunter at 1. I think you go QB 2-3 with the Browns and the Giants. And I think the Patriots, like you said, need and just best overall play remaining at that point. At 4, I think he goes to New England.
Wait, so 1 is who?
Travis Hunter.
Okay, 2?
I would say right now probably Cam Ward.
Okay,
goes
and then
to the Browns.
Shador to the Giants.
Shador to the Giants at 3.
And then Abdul Carter for the Patriots. So if that happens, we do a little home and home. You come to a Patriot game with me. We go see Abdul Carter. Then I'll take you to Happy Valley. We go see a Penn State game.
I'm okay. I will watch Abdul Carter from my couch. I will not go to Gillette Stadium in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, we are Penn State.
Big year. Big
We
year.
are Penn State.
We'll be chanting that a lot this year.
Which, by the way, you are such a sucker.
How am I a sucker?
You are a sucker.
For what?
Your team just ripped your heart out again this year. They build you up all the way. You take the bait every time. Even when you go, I'm not taking the bait. Oh, Penn State's going to the national championship game. I'm going to dress up as a leprechaun because I lost a bet to Zach. And I've already saw a tweet from you today.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State hired away the best defensive coordinator in the country from Ohio State just to set up the Buckeyes to hire Matt Patricia. This offseason continues to be the greatest in program history for James Franklin and the Nits. You know what you sound like?
What's incorrect about that?
Can I tell you what you sound like? You sound like a Jet fan. We're in the offseason is when you basically claim the championships.
What is factually inaccurate about that tweet?
Oh yeah, great. You got a phenomenal defensive coordinator.
They did.
You know, great. Greatest greatest offseason in program history.
Yeah. You keep all your impact players. You steal the best defensive coordinator in the country. You keep your own offensive coordinator. Well, how's that not the best offseason you possibly could have?
But what makes me actually think that this is going to be the year when it matters the most?
Well, you got to break through and win. But like in terms of setting yourself up to win, this is by far the closest Penn State's ever been in my lifetime.
Oh, this year they were pretty close.
They were, and they got better this offseason.
They had 2 byes in the college football playoff, and they actually had to play
Final Four.
big boy program.
They should have been the national title game. Couldn't get it done. Reloaded, just like some other Big Ten teams have gone in the past.
Do you like pain?
Do I like pain? No, I hate pain.
Do you like when you love heartbreak? Why are you even taking the bait here?
They've
had a good offseason.
They have, yeah.
But until you actually get the job done in the big moment, why are you going to believe that it's going to happen?
I'm the only one that's excited, though. Well, every publication has Penn State as the preseason number 1. I'm not sitting here telling that it doesn't mean anything.
That's ridiculous.
But I'm like, when you look at what they have returning, the talent that they have, the additions that they made this offseason, I do.
Even after what happened in that playoff game up against Notre Dame?
Bad game.
You trust James Franklin?
I do.
Okay, even though he's never won a big game in his life?
He didn't lose the game against Notre Dame. I think he's been a different coach.
That's fair.
Since the Ohio State game. I think that'll carry over into this year. They have the talent. Now, I mean, you got to do it, but Ohio State's weakened. They're strengthened. Mm-hmm. Let's go out and do it.
This is going to sound like a KMF question, but it's not because I'm going to give you 4 options. Just, your neck all right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Just moving it back, stretching out.
You looked a little stiff there. I was concerned there for a second.
I've been into the gym recently, a little sore. I got to stretch out, make sure, feeling okay.
AK just worked in that Penn State debate. So, my neck is hurting.
Worked?
I got to get out of here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Best hair. Shine, Adam Shine, Evan Washburn, Tom Pelissero, who joined us on Radio Row. Hair is immaculate.
It is.
I never even thought of him being a good hair guy, but it is. So Shine, Pelissero, Washburn, you. How do you rank them?
Can I sub myself out for Shams?
I was
thinking about this when we had our last discussion a few weeks ago about the hair. I would say right now, and maybe I'm leaving somebody off, Shams is probably, for me, number 1 when it comes to media.
Really? And he's got the Riz. Kay Adams loves him.
He has.
Oh, he does have good hair.
He has elite hair. And it's always on point. When he broke that Luka trade at, what was that, midnight Eastern, 1 a.m. Eastern, the hair, I don't know. It must be ready all the time.
But I think this is ESPN Shams, because this was Shams from a few years ago. Now, I know people can't see this, but that's not it's not bad hair, but that's not the greatest hair in the world.
No. It is where it is right now. If you click on your TV,
that's
you see
pretty
Shams
good head of hair
today,
right there.
Tomorrow.
Oh, boy.
I would put Shams number 1. But if we're going to leave him off the list and everyone else is fighting for second, he's 1.
5 people. Shams is 1.
He's 1. Washburn 2. Pelissero 3. Shine 4. Me 5.
You're so humble.
What can I say?
You really are humble. Can you just say, bleep it, my hair is better than all these other clowns?
No. At least
outside of Shams.
Shams is better. Pelissero's is better. Washburn's is better.
So Shams' hair is like he's the Tom
gold
Brady
standard.
of the hair world.
Yes, I would say so. It's thick, always done, never hair out of place.
Who'd you put 3?
Evan Washburn. And I like his hair. Plus, I also like the dye job that he does in the summertime. Put a little bleach in it, like blonde it up. That looks good.
And then who's 2?
Good.
Who was 2 one more time?
Tom Pelissero.
Tom Pelissero. So Shams is Brady, Pelissero's Montana, and then Washburn is Mahomes.
Sure.
So that means the next time that Washburn does a TV hit, and I love you, Evan, but these are Hickey's rankings. That means Washburn's going to bleep the bed, it seems like. Because, my oh my, what a terrible performance by Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Go ahead, because I'm sure you have some excuse for Mahomes. Go ahead.
No, he was bad. The whole team sucked. I looked at that game more as a credit to Philly and how great they were than how bad the Chiefs were. I can't sit here. Mahomes was bad. But it's not like I could sit here and say, if he played better, the Chiefs are winning. I just think that's how great Philly was in all assets, really outside of Saquon Barkley, ironically enough.
Saquon Barkley.
So I could give credit and will give credit to Philly more than say, the Chiefs lost because this player stunk.
Oh, yeah. That was a battle of the trenches, complete takeover, offense and defense. The Chiefs blocking was embarrassing.
Bad.
Travis Kelce was embarrassing. Even when Mahomes had time to throw. I had a Chiefs fan tell me at the game before the Zach Bond interception, he's looking like Sam Darnold. That's what a Chief fan told me.
In fairness to Mahomes, it's a 4-man rush. You have 7 guys in coverage. When you're dropping back and getting pressure on you and you look, there's a reason why no one's open. Because you have almost 2 guys covering every single Chiefs receiver that's in a route.
Yeah, Tom Brady wouldn't have got blown out, though. He wouldn't have.
Good for Tom Brady. When he loses in late fashion.
Yeah.
Good for him.
He wouldn't have got blown out. Brady didn't always have the best offensive line.
Losing is
got
losing.
Got move around. Mahomes had happy feet.
Hold on.
He has not.
You sound like me now. If I try to judge this, Penn State played Ohio State close. A loss is a loss. You get blown out, you lose close. It doesn't matter.
Oh, Tom Brady never got blown out.
Oh, my.
In the Super Bowl? No way.
Congratulations.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
I'm not disagreeing. And I thought even if Mahomes won the Super Bowl on Sunday, I would still say Tom Brady's the GOAT. And there's a long way to go.
Because that's one of the rare times you have a measured take.
But to sit here and say, Brady's better because he doesn't get blown out.
1,000%.
That is
close.
That is a me take I would have if we reverse and I was a Patriots fan somehow and people are trying to take down my guy Tom Brady. That's what I would say. Well, Brady doesn't get blown out.
Kelce coming back?
I think so.
Did you hear the latest audio?
I did. I know player that just happened. He's exhausted. I think though losing when you think about it, get away from it, motivates you more to come. If they had the three-peat, I think it's easier to ride off in the sunset in the blaze of glory. I think the loss kind of motivates him.
I think there's nothing left for him to accomplish. He's already go down as one of the best tight ends in NFL history, just in our lifetime because we're the same age. I know other people call up and they'll go older, but I would say in no order, the 3 best tight ends that I've ever seen are Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, and Rob Gronkowski in our lifetime. And then Travis Kelce's right there. He's a top 5 tight end in our lifetime. And he's unbelievable. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. So I think going for that three-peat was the last thing really for him to tangibly have. I'm not trying to diminish. If he goes and wins a 4th Super Bowl, for tight ends, it doesn't matter. It's not quarterbacks and head coaches where how many championships you have.
I mean, I guess the only thing is, he's tied with Gronk. Gronk has 3. I guess if you want to say I want to have the most rings, I guess that's what you could still motivate yourself
but who cares
for.
About that?
I'd agree with that.
Well, Gronk actually, he technically he has 4. But he only won. He was only playing for 3 of them.
Broke his arm, right, or the elbow?
Yeah, 28-3. He didn't play in that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he was hurt. He was out for it.
So he has 4. Kelce has 3. Yeah, I mean that's fair. No one cares about rings for a tight end in terms of legacy as much. I just think I think he's still a guy. I mean, he talked about all week going into the Super Bowl. He has a few years left. He still wants to play kind of till the wheels come off. I think he's back. Even though what he said today, I'm thinking about it, kick the can down the road, not going to make an emotional choice. I think he's back next year.
I agree with you. I think he's coming back for one final year. If I'm him, I would just walk away and retire. That would just
That's
be
fair,
me.
yeah. I mean, he's got a lot to lean back on.
He's got his hands full. You got Taylor Swift. You got the podcast. You can do whatever you want.
He's a fashionista. Host, wants to host game shows. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? Act.
Are you?
Probably not. Yeah, those shows are tough. I don't buy that those questions are 5th grade questions, by the way.
I'm with Dan Orlovsky in the airport, And we were on the same flight back, and we were talking, and this law student comes up to us. She's a law student, and she goes, "Hey, I want some advice about the broadcasting world." And Dan and I looked at each other. We go, "You say you're a law student?" She goes, "Yeah, but my passion's really sports media." And I go, "Well, you're asking the wrong two idiots for advice then, because you're a law student. Like, you're a lot more intelligent than we are." I said to her, I was like, "You're a law student. I would remain being a lawyer." But then we actually gave like actual advice and things like that. So, but I couldn't believe that. Law student, but I want to be in sports media. That's crazy to me. Can you imagine going through that law school?
No.
And then saying, "Oh, I'm going to do a sports media career," and go to like, I don't know, Des Moines, Iowa, and make $25,000 or $35,000 a year?
I just couldn't imagine studying the hardest 3 years of my life and then not pursuing it.
Crazy.
Like, by the time senior year came, by the time junior year of college came, I said, I'm done with schoolwork.
And we were communication majors.
Done. Right. We weren't exactly, it wasn't brain surgery. To go to law school, the hardest 3 years of your life, and say, once you graduate, I'm going to pivot, couldn't be me.
Do me a favor, Stu. Play me, I want to get to this Dan Hurley audio one more time, and I'll get Hickey's thoughts on this. Play me Dan Hurley finally beating Creighton, walking off the court last night, and having a little message for those fans of the Blue Jays.
2 rings, Baldy. Let's go.
4 best bald guys gonna know. That's the best part.
Bald.
He's bald. It'd be like, right, you got a fat guy calling another fat, "Hey, 2 rings, fatso."
That's great. I love it.
I loved it. I thought that was wonderful. Now, some people, they'll get their panties in a bunch, and they'll freak out because they're not serious, or they have to be serious all the time, and they're not fun. I think that's great for college basketball. You know, college basketball doesn't really resonate well nationally in the regular season. Usually after the Super Bowl, you get the conference tournament, and then March Madness. That's when it really picks up. Dan Hurley, like, college football doesn't have a face right now. With Saban gone, they don't have a polarizing face. Someone that makes like 50% of the people love him, 50% of the people hate them, and they always win. Dan Hurley is the face of college basketball, and since passing up in the Lakers job, he's always been crazy, and I mean that in a good way. But since passing up in the Lakers job, he's like, "Yeah, I'm the man. I'm going to rub my success all over your face."
I agree. I love Dan Hurley. I think he's great for basketball. I think he's the most entertaining coach they've had in a very long time. And you're right. Like, people want to always say they don't like villains, and they'll get sick of, we hate the Chiefs. We're Chiefs fatigue, Patriots fatigue. People love villains. They watch whether you love them or you hate them. Dan Hurley is one of those guys. You can root against them, root for him. Doesn't matter. Your eyes are watching him and seeing how UConn does. I agree. He's great for the sport. I love it. I think he's funny. I gravitate towards him more than like scold him. I think that last night was hilarious. And I think what he said after the game is fair as well. When he's there and he loses and everyone storms the court, cursing at him, screaming, "F you, Hurley," for 40 minutes during the game. When you win, you have the right to chirp back as a coach in a relatively tame manner. You can't go fight fans or...
Yeah.
I think there's a line you can cross for sure, but screaming 2 rings, Baldy, is hilarious.
I think I saw something from last year, because I remember having McDermott on after they beat UConn. And I think it was the video of Hurley walking off the court.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You can say what you want, but don't reach over the railing." Like, that's amazing to me that you could go in that mode of intense craziness on the bat, and then you're walking off and you're ready to go at the fans. It's just wild.
I think he said, like, "I'll choke you out."
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he said something that was like kind of borderline to a fan as he's walking off.
"I'll choke you out." That's kind of badass.
It's kind of like, "Come down here and I'll knock you out," or something like that.
So I saw Post Malone at the Super Bowl. He was performing. This was Friday night. It may be one of the more impressive things I've ever seen from a performer. First off, he was great. He's performing his final song, his encore song. And in the middle of it, I guess a fan in the 5th or 6th row passed out. So the fan passed out or just wasn't doing well. I don't know if they hit the floor, but just clearly wasn't doing well. Post Malone stops the show. Now, I had good seats for this. It's only like a 2,000 person venue, so pretty much everyone had good seats. Most people were standing. I had a seat. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Because the lights come on. He's like, stop the show, turn the lights on. And I'm thinking the worst, right? Unfortunately. But they weren't running off the stage. And then he goes, someone needs to get that dude help. That dude's not doing well. How you could recognize that while you're performing. Then the security came over, got the guy the help, and then 45 seconds later, he's like, all right, boys, 1, 2, 3. And they went right in it to finish the encore. That was wild. And I'm not saying it's like Dan Hurley screaming on a basketball court, then walking off and trying to fight a fan. But it's amazing how these guys could be in such an element and then other things could happen.
Multi-talented. Able to, to just tackle. When you're that good at your craft, you have, I guess, the ability to kind of see other things. It's very impressive. Good for Post.
All righty, let's try to get you canceled here, Hickey.
Oh, boy.
What did you think of the Kendrick halftime show?
I mean, I'm not a Kendrick fan, so I thought it was, I like Not Like Us, so like that was cool that he played it. I didn't really get half of the stuff he was saying in terms of like what it means, or I didn't know probably 3/4 of the songs. So it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I'm not a Kendrick guy.
Yeah, I don't mind Kendrick, but I think this was a bad look for Kendrick. I knew he was going to go after Drake, right? That beef is well documented. And Not Like Us is just going after Drake and basically accusing him of being a pedophile. So no one wants to be accused of being a pedophile. I get that. But this is your moment at the Super Bowl. And I thought teasing the song Not Like Us was actually bad because, fake playing it and then going to another song before you eventually played it. Because it's almost as if you made the entire show about Drake. And I get it was to be a diss about Drake. But since it didn't really hit, I think most people don't think it hit. That if I was Drake, I'm like, hey, you spent your entire one time at the Super Bowl halftime basically just going after me. Like, that's how obsessed you are with me.
But I think it's one of those, that song is so popular.
Sure.
And won so many Grammys just 2 weeks ago that you had to play it. I think people when they heard that he was, and I think almost because everyone's waiting. I think actually, I like that he did that because everyone's waiting for it. He's singing some songs. People maybe know some, don't know others. SZA's there, and then you kind of hear the opening to it, and people are okay, here we go. I kind of like the fake out, wait a little bit longer, then get into it. Just because that's I think the one song everyone, whether you're a Kendrick person or not, was waiting for. And I think I thought that was I know everyone's waiting for the song, wait a little bit longer. I kind of like that.
Do you have one person that you would want to see perform the halftime
Chappell
show?
Roan.
Wow. Oh, you
Pink Pony Club, Hot to Go, Good Luck, Babe.
How does that song go again?
Spells it out. HOTTOGO.
Yeah, HOTTOGO.
She has bangers. Yeah. Superdome, I think roof would have came off if she was the halftime.
Would have been like Beyonce when she was there, and the power would have been out.
Rihanna, when she did it a few years ago, A+ show.
So here's our 3. Well, I had 2. Stu had 1. Taylor Swift. That would be a massive one for the NFL. But after she getting booed, I don't know if she wants to associate herself with the NFL anymore. So the fix could be all for the Chiefs, by the way. She got booed.
Good for Eagles
She
fans.
voiced maybe her frustration with the NFL, and the NFL was like, all right, let's let the Eagles win the game. Because that's how this stuff works. Then I would say Post Malone, I think, would be phenomenal. And then also going out to the West Coast next year, I think Green Day would be great. I'd like to see a band, if I'm being honest. Green Day would be fun. I want to be an American idiot.
Go more nostalgia. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I would end up going with. All righty. Good stuff. Appreciate you joining us here on a Wednesday with Hot Take Hickey. All righty. We're coming on back. I just want to give a little praise to Howie Roseman. We'll do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
All righty, news brief time. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's get to Jason Kelce rooting for both the Chiefs and the Eagles on the New Heights podcast.
What was it like for you watching this one?
Terrible.
Yeah.
It sucks. I've always supported you.
Every step of the way.
It was hard to navigate because obviously I'm trying to say that I have people on the Eagles that I love, and I also have you. And I tried to make it known that I was rooting for you, and it felt like I couldn't be right. It felt like no matter what I said, some people were going to skew it and say that I'm rooting for the Eagles, and some people were going to skew it and say that I was rooting for the Chiefs or Travis, and it sucked.
That's the world we live in, man. I know I always had your support. You don't have to explain anything to anybody. As long as the people right here, I know who Jason Kelce is, and I know my brother and what his intentions are, and nobody can ever confuse that.
It was very, very hard to watch.
Yeah.
As much as I love the Eagles, as much as I love the city of Philadelphia, there was not a ounce of me that...
Crying?
And I know that, like, I don't know. I tried to correlate that I was rooting for both sides the whole time and that I was going to be happy and sad regardless. I just don't know how to articulate that. I'm happy for some of the Eagles, but at the same time, I was miserable during the game watching you not achieve your success again.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. It sucked. And I think it was just a up emotion. And I'm so happy for Jalen Hurts. I'm so happy for Nick Sirianni and all these guys that have been through so much. And it was just really I did not anticipate it being that hard.
So I understand being emotional, right? Your brother lost the Super Bowl. I know you're associated with being an Eagle, but your brother lost the Super Bowl. I understand being upset for your brother. But is Jason Kelce, who I like a lot, is he really that sensitive to that he cares that, like, Eggface24367 with a cat in their Twitter profile is like, oh, you better be rooting for us and you better not be rooting for your brother in the Super Bowl? I think most logical, sane people understand, you know, it's a tough spot for him. He's associated with being one of the greatest Eagles ever. He has a lot of relationships with that team, but ultimately, you want to see your brother win too. So to get that emotional about it, and you didn't hear much from Kelce. I know he's on shows, but you didn't hear much about him during the game or after the game. That really did weigh on him in a big way. The crying part, though, I was not expecting. And he almost feels as if he let down, like, people in Philadelphia. They don't care who you're rooting for. They just care that they won the Super Bowl. That's weird. I thought it was a little weird. Here is Travis Kelce on his New Heights podcast and what went wrong in Super Bowl Licks 59.
Just wasn't our day. Couldn't find a lick of momentum. I'm kicking myself for some of the tiny decisions I made on the field. I wasn't the best leader that I could be in motivating my guys and keeping my guys, you know, calm, cool, collected. And I put a lot of that on myself as, you know, the guy that's been in the building for 12 years and seen a lot of football and actually seeing a situation just like this in the Super Bowl. Chiefs Kingdom, I'm sorry for how it ended. I wish things would have went different. I wish I would have made better decisions early on and helped my guy Pat out and helped my team, you know, find that momentum or that confidence. But, you know, I just have to tip my hat to the Eagles.
Yeah. What else can you say? Your team got spanked in the game. So he handled that the right way. Let's go to Dallas Goedert and Sirius XM NFL Radio and Kellen Moore taking the Saints job.
Ever since Kellen got here, you know, he was awesome. He did a great job leading the room when he was in there. I expect him to be a great head coach in this league. I talked to him after the Super Bowl and gave him my spiel on why he should come back and run it back with us one more year, but incredibly happy for him and awesome opportunity for him. But he did a great job ever since he got in the building. You know, he went and watched the tape of the last 3 years, and, you know, he really tried to make sure he didn't change anything that we did well, tried to eliminate the things that we struggled with, and then brought his own twist to everything. So he was an important part of this run, and, you know, I'm happy for him. But, you know, I wish he would have stayed one more year with us.
Yeah, I can't crush Kellen Moore for taking the job. You get offered a head coaching job. It's 1 of 32. You got to end up taking it. He could have waited. Could he have done the Ben Johnson route? And he already won the Super Bowl, and you go on back and then maybe get the pick of the litter, I'm sure. But I don't know how attractive Kellen Moore's name was in NFL circles 3-4 years ago. It was a lot more attractive. So you get this opportunity after waiting all those years. I don't have a problem with him taking it, but ultimately he's got to find a quarterback. Let's get to Tom Brady. He was on Sunday Conversations with Caleb Presley, and these are always fun interviews with a lot of satire. Here is Tom Brady reacting to jokes about Bill Belichick's, 24-year-old girlfriend?
Did Bill Belichick follow TB12? Nah. No, he's a big, carb guy. What about his girlfriend? She looks as young and healthy as ever. Sounds like it. I don't know. I don't follow it, too much. If Bill Belichick's girlfriend needed it, would you rent a car for her? I don't want any liability.
That's good. Oh, my God, that's good. You have to be, 25, I think it is, to rent a car without all this crazy insurance? And then Brady, the liability. You know what? Good job all around. Good job all around. You would have thought Belichick's girlfriend would be dating Brady, right? Not the 70-something-year-old man in Bill Belichick. And I saw Giselle had her kid. I knew she was pregnant. I didn't know it was 8-9 months, but, man, that happened really quick. It did not feel like 8-9 months. At least what we found out. Let's go to NFL honors. This is Josh Allen after winning the MVP. He wanted to thank one person in particular.
It takes everybody from the equipment staff to the training room to the strength staff to Slick Rick in the mailroom to the cafeteria upstairs. Like it truly takes everybody to have team success.
Slick Rick in the mailroom. Well, let's hear from Slick Rick. He's the mailroom guy on Josh Allen's shout out. This is on WKBW in Buffalo.
When I left work Thursday, I was mentioning, I said, if Josh doesn't get MVP, I'm going to cry. I said, I'm going to cry because he deserves it. I mean, he's that important to our team. So basically, when I was watching the awards, when he went on stage, everything, I was happy that he had won it. And it went from joyful to crying because when he mentioned my name, I just broke down. I broke down because I'm just an average person. I mean, but when he mentioned my name, it was like, oh my God, he just mentioned my name on national television, So it was like, I was just crying. I was crying. Then I started getting phone calls from friends, and I was crying on the phone to them. It's still like a dream. Even though I work here, but I don't like this publicity. I'm just down to earth.
I'm a Slick Rick fan now. That's awesome. That emotion's great, and for Josh Allen thanking him, that's also really damn cool as well. Let's go to Shedeur Sanders, well off media. He shades Cam Newton. I have not heard this yet. Let's listen up.
Yeah, I even one bad pass. If I was out there throwing like Cam Newton, they would have dropped my draft.
So remember I think it was before the UCF game, people thought there was bad blood between Shedeur and Travis Hunter, with Cam. And then there eventually was different photos that would suggest otherwise. Wow. Shedeur not a fan of Cam. I wonder what happened there. Because there was speculation about it. And then you hear him say that. That's something. Well, I can't wait for Cam to respond. Shedeur Sanders, who is he visiting first? Once again, well off media.
30 visits starts like March 4th.
Do you know your first one yet?
Browns. I got the Browns, then the Giants.
For some reason, I think Cam Ward now is going to be the first pick, and I still feel as if Shedeur Sanders, unless the Raiders move up, is going to find a way to go to the New York Giants. Finally, Draymond Green on the Draymond Green Show. Steph Curry's surprising reaction to landing Jimmy Butler.
Steph, he looked like he got belief. After the trade, he looked at me and he said, man, it's crazy because it just dawned on me that, this is it.
Yeah.
This is
the last run.
Last ride. And I said, let's do it.
Let's ride to the wheels fall off.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
It was an emotional moment.
This is going to sound terrible. I'll preface it that way because I love Steph Curry. I hope the Warriors end up being a bleep show. Because if you have the craziness of Draymond with the craziness of Jimmy Butler, I could see them mauling one another in practice. And I could see it getting really ugly. Because unlike KD, Jimmy Butler will fight back. Unlike Jordan Poole, Jimmy Butler will fight back. Ooh, I hope there's a kerfuffle between Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. That's my remaining wish for the NBA season. Well, come on back. I got one thing I want to praise about Howie Roseman. Update time first, though. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, aside from Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce is the Chiefs' biggest star. He's had a Hall of Fame career that is at the very least winding down. The 35-year-old not a factor in Super Bowl 50-59. Instead, on the New Heights podcast, he's going to take some time now to ponder his future. After saying during the Super Bowl week he had a lot left in the tank, today he acknowledged that Father Time can certainly humble you.
As you see yourself or not feel yourself have the success that you once used to have, man, it's a tough pill to swallow. And then on top of that, to not be there in the biggest moments, knowing your team's counting on you, man. Those are all extremely hard things to. It's just a tough reality.
Matt Patricia is reportedly heading back to college as the Ohio State defensive coordinator, while Bengals defensive captain Jermaine Pratt has requested a trade. Oft injured Anthony Rendon is out for a while. According to the Angels, the third baseman is dealing with a hip injury and underwent surgery and is not expected to return anytime soon. The Lakers have won 6 in a row with the addition of Luka Doncic helping Monday. They look to add to their streak tonight in Utah, while the Thunder have also won 6 straight and are in action tonight as they will host the Miami Heat. I'm Rich Hacker.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. We're the Backstreet Boys, and you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God.
All right, the Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Just real quickly, Devin Caney, who is the Eagles sideline reporter, she just put out a wonderful tweet. In A.J. Brown's post-game presser, he said they won the Super Bowl for Philly and that he had a special visit to make when he got back. Well, the visit was to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia to see Andre Howard III, who was hit in the head with debris while protecting his sister following the plane crash in Northeast Philadelphia. So there's a photo of A.J. Brown with Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl championship gear for Andre Howard with the Lombardi Trophy. That's awesome. You know, say what you want about A.J. Brown, right? Sometimes we criticize his antics on the sidelines. At the end of the day, that's a good dude. When you win a Super Bowl, right, you can make it all about yourself. Right after the game, in his post-game press conference, he says, you know, I got one special visit to make, and you go visit Andre Howard III, who was hit in the head with debris while protecting his sister following the horrible plane crash in Northeast Philadelphia. Man, it's a heck of a story. It's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Sam in Philadelphia says, Zach, what's the most underrated storyline of the Super Bowl? Ooh, good question. You could submit a question by tweeting at INS Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. So we look at this Super Bowl, and we've dissected it now for the last 3 days. And right from the Eagles side, we have talked about what this means for Jalen Hurts. We've talked about what this means for Nick Sirianni, right? The defensive players, the all-time great defensive performance that we saw in the Super Bowl, the masterful game plan by Vic Fangio. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown as a wide receiver duo. Saquon Barkley getting the cherry on top of the sundae for one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen from an NFL running back. You know we really haven't talked about in the last 3 days? Howie Roseman. The architect of this. Like, I gave praise to Jeffrey Lurie early in the week, but how about Howie Roseman? Because I remember being in Philadelphia, and Howie Roseman, deservedly slow, he was slammed. For after winning a Super Bowl, he ended up drafting J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and also Jalen Reagor when he could have selected DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson. Think about that. And they got rid of Doug Peterson, and they could have also got rid of Howie Roseman. But they elected not to get rid of Howie Roseman. And you take a glance back, and you see what Howie Roseman has done since that horrible draft pick, right, of the final one of getting Jalen Reagor. In the second round, he ended up taking Jalen Hurts. He then also eventually, since 2020, traded for A.J. Brown for a first-round pick. So you traded for A.J. Brown. You drafted Jalen Hurts. You also used a first-round pick on Devontae Smith. You drafted Landon Dickerson. You drafted Cam Jurgens, who was a Pro Bowler this year. You drafted one of the most ferocious players in the NFL in Jalen Carter. You also drafted Nolan Smith, who had a breakout season. You drafted Milton Williams as well, who was unbelievable in the big game. You also drafted Nakobe Dean, who got hurt, but he was having a career season. And oh yeah, by the way, just last year, you got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in the draft. Quinyon Mitchell is one of the best young players in the league this past year, and Cooper DeJean had a pick 6 in the Super Bowl. Huh. You want to talk about a run, and I'm sure I'm missing a few others. But since the horrible draft picks of Jalen Reagor and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, you end up, once again, A.J. Brown for a first-round pick, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Milton Williams, Nakobe Dean, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean. 10 draft picks, and one you traded a first to go get a star wide receiver. So basically 11 draft picks. That's wild when you get those 11 players. And And, right, you won a Super Bowl in Super Bowl 52. You didn't get another one. You lose Super Bowl 57. You had some of those players there. And look at the way that they've been able to add since 2020. And that's when it really got started. Since 2020. That's a heck of a job. That is ridiculous. That's crazy to have that much success. Stu, remember the year the Raiders had 3 first-round draft picks? Well, you guys draft. Let me see if I can do this top of my head.
Yes, this is
Cleveland Farrell.
Yes, I believe 4th overall was Cleveland Farrell.
You also got the wide receiver, the safety with how he would say Salmon Abrams, right?
Yes.
Was the other one Jacobs?
The other one was Jacobs. So the third one was pretty good. But
so you had 3 first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
You hit 1.
1 of 3.
Now, I know all those picks weren't in the first round, but the majority of them won. Look at the success rate that Howie Roseman's had. You know, look at Belichick towards the end of New England. He couldn't draft a good player to save his life. And, right, Howie Roseman was backed into a corner just like he was when Chip Kelly got there. And then he came out swinging and won a Super Bowl. Howie Roseman backed into a corner again after some terrible draft picks. And not only has he come out swinging, he's taken everyone with him. That's unbelievable. So I think Howie Roseman, 2 Super Bowl championships. He's the best executive in football, period. You know, he's the best GM. He's the best executive in football, and everyone else is playing for second with the masterful job that Howie Roseman has done for a long time in Philly. All righty, that will do it for the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network on this Wednesday edition. We still got 2 more shows to go for the rest of the week. Big thanks to Trey Sermon of the Indianapolis Colts for joining us in studio. Big thanks to Ryan Hot Take Hickey as well. And also appreciate our crew, Stu and Samter, and in addition to Rich Ackerman. And big thank you to each and every person for tuning in, no matter how you listen to us, whether it's on your local Infinity Sports Network affiliate, SiriusXM Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Hope you have a great Wednesday evening. We out, everybody. Bye-bye. Peace.